have that open.
All right.
You don't need
it. We are live. Everyone, sound check.
Check.
Tomb King Tristan in the chat already, lurking. Everybody make sure they can hear us.
Yeah, I think we can all be heard, right? So we're good to, I'll start.
Yep.
Good evening and welcome to CanHammer, your stop for Warhammer 40k from the Grey White North. Today's show is episode 159. It's going to be all about how to beat Genestealer cult with the man, the legend, Dustin Henshaw. As usual, I'm your host, Chris. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr.
Darren. That's me.
You could hear the salt. That joke will never get old. And our special guest, as we already announced, Dustin.
Hello, everyone.
Of StarCraft fame, apparently.
No, I forgot that was back there, actually.
No, but
you forgot that a, what is that, 6 foot tall Mr. Rainer and StarCraft 2 poster.
I put that in the way because otherwise you get a widescreen view of my man cave toilet. So I make sure that
It'd be funny if somebody you're just like, I gotta move this. You moved it, and somebody's sitting there taking a poop. You're like, what's going on?
Live.
Okay, so Dustin's first time on the show, so we'll just kind of let people know a little bit about you. So how'd you get in the hobby?
I've been doing it since forever now. Like I played a little bit for Space Hulk back in the day. I played my Tyranids. The first time I really got into the actual hobby itself of playing in a shop was, I think it was 4th edition. I bought a Eldar army off of a buddy of mine because he was trying to shut up, man. Come on. I bought an Eldar army, a buddy of mine. He's like, I'm thinking of switching over to Tau, and just kind of telling me. But I was like, I remember Warhammer. I really enjoyed that. So I offered to buy it from him. He gave it to me for free, and then we just started playing. And ever since then, I love the game. I love the community. I've been going to tournaments and going to play games at the shop as much as I can. I only recently got into painting because I only recently got decent at it. So it helped that the army he gave me was painted already as well. Really helped me get into it.
So so you started with the Eldar and then you went right into the Tyranids type thing?
Well, I technically started with Tyranids if you include Space Hulk. But yeah, I went right into Tyranids afterwards because I'm a Zerg player. So Tyranids kind of speak to me.
Ex-professional StarCraft Zerg player.
I got paid to get my ass kicked. Yes.
It's better than me. I never got paid to waste countless hours on that game.
This is the original, old school OG, man. And I wasn't good.
So I think you already kind of answered the next question, but what aspect of the hobby is your favorite, or what kind of a gamer do you kind of say you are? Are you a painter, a gamer, a fluff? Like what part of the hobby is you?
For me, to be completely honest, it's list building. I love the tactics and the strategy behind actual list building and getting those combos and thinking of out-of-the-box strategies you can use to play the game with. That's one of the reasons I really like Tyranids, because they have everything. There's so many different things you can do with them, just with their adaptations. Like Carnifex back in the day could do anything. So that was easy to get into. So I loved this. I'll actually spend, I shouldn't admit this, but I spend 3 hours a lot of the time just making lists, usually for my own armies, but not always.
That's fine, man. Everybody spends 3 hours on the can every day anyway, so.
Exactly. I didn't want to say that. That's why I have the can right there. So I have the computer screen. It's perfect.
So what tool do you use? Just Battlescribe, or?
I started off with Army Builder, but now I use Battlescribe, yeah.
Okay, that's your favorite. So you also host a podcast, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I do. I host the Stutter Scrub podcast. So originally it started off as two numpties just trying to get into the competitive scene and trying to make it on the Team Canada ETC, which, spoiler alert, I have made the team now. Thank you very much. But it's kind of, since that's past us, we're still going to be talking about going to the ETC and what we're doing to prep for it, and kind of still our tournaments and thoughts that we're doing. But we're going to be staying on because we got a bit of a following. We didn't expect that. So thank everybody that's been tuning in for Stutter Scrub. But we're gonna keep going. It's been great.
Yeah. When you have these podcasts that have a purpose to it, as opposed to just kind of talking about stuff, they're actually way more compelling to listen to because there's a reason to sort of follow these people. On any other podcast, you can just leave or take any particular episode, but you sort of have to follow along your guys' journey, so it does make it more compelling.
So we will have to do something like that after ETC. There'll be another journey that we'll be following.
Well, I kind of wanted to get a group of guys and be like, okay, Dustin's goal is top GSC. I'm going to be top Orc. Darren's top Custodes, and that's just what we do.
That's perfect. Stunner Scrub next season. That's what we're going to do. Done.
We'll pick a faction in both AOS and 40K and try to win them both.
Yeah, I like it. I like this.
We'll all get divorced at the same time.
And then hang out together.
Yeah.
So, and your co-host of Stutter Scrub is the famous snotling known as
Jess Rocha. By the way, he says hi, Darren.
He doesn't say hi to me. He just says hi to Darren.
That was intentional, yeah.
Oh, I know. I understand. That's why the snotling had to come out there. The reference. So one of the interesting things about your podcast is it was one of the most embarrassing moments for me, I guess, is we actually went on your show to announce it. And then since then, of course, you went from being coach to playing team member. So yeah, you guys should scroll back a few Stutter Scrubs. I think it's like 5-6 episodes ago. You can hear I was a guest host. We announced his.
Literally the crux of the whole purpose of the podcast on that episode.
yeah, like it was a nail biter for sure.
I think it was episode 25 or something. It's in the title. You can look it up. It was kind of awkward. Chris could tell he felt awkward on it. It was definitely my intention too. I loved it.
I was like, geez, I don't want to crush. I don't want to hear somebody cry on air, man. This is brutal.
I would have cried. I was ready.
I know.
Got lemons ready to squeeze in my eyes.
Yeah. Okay, so while we're on the ETC kind of chat, I just wanted to basically we had a last minute drop. So Dustin went from coach to playing member. So then we actually were able to secure a previous dropout off the team to be our coach. But in order to secure this player, we needed to secure some funds because that was the original reason for dropping out. So we actually, I think it was like a day and a half. I think we secured the funds, which is $2,000 Canadian in a day, but we didn't actually have the money for a day and a half. So it depends what you go by. But I was pretty blown away by that the community was able to donate enough to get us there. And so I actually wanted to say some thank yous. And since the ETC team is a separate entity to CanHammer, this first part's going to be a bit weird. But first, I guess we'll thank Darren, myself, and CanHammer for donating $300. Beef and Wing.
Thanks, guys.
That is weird, but it's interesting. Beef and Wing donated $300. Zaketa Sports, which is a store. I've actually recorded some episodes playing tournaments there in the past. It's a Montreal-based store. The Hooded Goblin donated $200. The Hooded Goblin is a store in the GTA. They run a lot of tournaments. I know Dustin just won a tournament there.
Hooded Goblin GT.
Yeah, you won the overall, or is it general?
I won overall. Scary won general.
Scary won general. Okay, I was like, which one of you guys won general? Okay. And the internet famous Val Heffelfinger donated $200. And then our largest, patron is Madhouse Wargaming. They're a YouTube channel / podcast that's starting up in the west coast of Canada, and they wanted to get involved with the ETC team and the community, so they gave us $800. So Thank you very much.
I feel like they're doing better than we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That was amazing.
Jeez.
And so I'm trying right now to get rush patches made for our a lot of the sponsors. Some are making their own, and then I'm trying to get the other ones made so that we can cover Devon with little sponsorship patches, because without
Devin's
guys
going,
couldn't have gone there.
Devon's going.
Yeah,
there it is.
Announced that Devon Swan came back. He originally dropped for financial reasons,
and then Japan.
There was a lot. There was like a lot of things going on with him, but he is going and he is coaching. Awesome. So it's he has that analytical mind. I think he'll do a really good job. He knows lists. He doesn't take bullshit, and he can be a really blunt prick, and we need that as a coach. So because we love him. I say that with love. Okay, so then I'll hand it off to Darren to turn on the lights and pay the rest of the bills.
Yeah, thanks very much to our big sponsor, Red Dragon Comics, Cards, and Games, Dan and Dylan, for being our main sponsor. Thank you very much. We also have another big sponsor that's officially joined us now, although they've kind of been helping us with a lot of stuff already, but that's Raul and the Dream Tea team based out in Toronto.
They're the best.
You might recognize them. They walk around all the tournaments in yellow shirts.
Hey.
And yeah,
and they make all of our shirts.
They make all
of our objective markers. They make our hats. They make our anything, all the custom work.
Yeah.
They made us custom coasters for the AOS tournament that we went to with Team CanHammer that look badass.
I want some coasters.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Maybe next year, man. We used them as pairing cards, and then we gave them to our opponents.
Yeah.
They were amazing. Yeah. So
I'm gonna big up to Raul and his team. We've been selling a lot of those CanHammer objectives because people now realize how useful they are.
Yes.
And he's given us a whole set of the new 6-inch wide ones, 6-inch radius ones for AOS. They're like this big, but they're pretty good for AOS. And we got some hats coming. I just saw a sample today. They look pretty cool. And big shout out to Dream Tea for officially becoming sponsors now. And they'll be at Capital City Bloodbath in person. And then shout out also to our other sponsors. We got Hoyt, Thunder Games and Gifts. We got Dave over at Tista Minis and Martin over at Dyson Decks in the UK.
Who we're going to go visit this summer. Well, I am.
Oh yeah, on your way to Serbia.
Yeah, we're making a stop over in Liverpool, and then Warhammer World in Nottingham, and then we're going to Serbia to hopefully win the ETC.
And what's up on the stream to Scary, who's joined us, and Jeremy Smith. What's up?
What's up? Okay, so the topic of today's show is all about Genestealer cults. The reason that we picked this is Genestealer cults are kind of the new hotness. They're very effective. A lot of top players are using them to beat the living crap out of people. Dustin's beating the living crap out of people with them. One of the things, too, is whenever I've played against Genestealer cults, I find them very complex, very overwhelming to play against. I find that the way that they play is so different from the typical army that it throws me off. And so I was hoping tonight that we'd be able to help you guys out there and help us to maybe be a bit more effective against Genestealer cults in general, because I don't know. I think it might be one of the top books out there,
for sure.
Individual books.
For sure.
Like some of the soup lists obviously can be made better, but if for a standalone mono faction, they're pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But it's not like Eldar Broken in 7th. These guys require a ton of skill, a ton of nuance, and a lot of tricks to make them effective. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do 2 parts. The first part, we're going to try to go through units, combos, what's effective in the book, what you're going to see from Dustin's perspective, obviously. May differ from your own. If it does, please feel free to chime in the chat, and we'll try to get to you if we can. And then the second part is we're going to try to talk about ways to mitigate their effectiveness. And then if you run into Dustin at a tournament, you can beat him.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing me on this podcast to tell everybody in the world how to kick the shit out of me. That is very much appreciated.
We aim to please.
but it'll be more satisfying when you play somebody and they go, "Hey man, you told me how to beat you," and then you still beat them. I think
okay.
that'll be very satisfying.
I have other tricks because I don't run straight Genestealer cult all the time anymore, which actually you'll see a lot more of, I think.
Yeah, and if we have time, we could touch a little bit on Tyranids as allies, because I think the initial thing was they weren't used at all. And then now, maybe a little bit. So let's start off with some of the tricks. Maybe we'll kind of try to keep it HQ, troops, and we'll go through the book. But feel free to jump around a little bit, too, if a trick requires multiple things. So I'll hand off to you, Dustin. What's some tricks?
I think the first thing that everybody knows about, I'll try to go with what the more popular ones first, and then kind of go down the list. And we'll talk about units afterwards, so let's talk about some of those tricks. And number 1, blips. That's the biggest thing with Genestealer cult, the blips. A good Genestealer cult player, you will never be able to out-deploy them, ever. It's impossible. They have, for those of you that don't know what the blips are, instead of deploying their units, they just put a little red dot on the table. And those red dots represent anything that aren't underground. Because if it goes underground, you have to say, I'm putting this underground, so that can't be a blip anymore. But they put down that blip, and if they go first at the beginning of their movement phase, that's when they reveal everything. So they don't have to say what's what. They can put it wherever they want within an inch of that blip, and then everything else in that unit just has to deploy within 6 inches of that unit. Still in your deployment zone, but still. They also have all kinds of tricks that they can put 3 of them underground before the game starts. So after you go, if you go first, if you move, you can't move within 9 inches of them, and then they can bring 3 of them off the table and put them underground. And currently, that means that those 3 units do not have to come in before turn 3.
Yeah, which is weird.
Afterwards. It's weird. Yeah. I think that's going to get fixed. ATC, I think, is actually ruled against it too.
Oh, yeah?
I think in the future, that's probably not going to be the case for it. But for now, it is true. They can actually stay off the table past turn 3.
That's almost always worth doing, because then it's like, 100%. Well, now your backfield stuff has to stay back there zoning for
even if it's just like a 10-man Brood Brothers unit. That's still it's a threat off the table. Like, you can just charge in, grab an objective as their obsec. It's crazy. They can also they have another one that gives them 3 fake blips. They have one that can move 3 blips with 12 inches. A Nexus can move 1 blip anywhere else in your deployment zone. It's dirty for deployment. Like, that's what I mean when I say if you play a good Genestealer player, it's impossible to out deploy them. You just can't. That's the big one, the blips.
Yeah, because I played Jeff at CanHammer team, and he put a lot of his blips behind a building, and then on the 2 flanks, right? So I didn't know which flank to kind of
exactly
deploy on. I put it more in the middle to mitigate that, but it was pretty cool. And then so the blips, if you go first as the Genestealer call player, you have to show them at the beginning of your movement phase.
Yes, so before you move, you have to show where everything is.
Yeah,
everything at once, and then if you go second, it's at the end of your opponent's movement phase.
Yeah, so they move, and then you reveal everything. That's the hard part, and it's one of the things that we'll talk about with tricks to beat later on. Genestealer call it like going second.
Yeah,
well, exactly, because then you literally see your opponent deployed, moved. Now I'm deploying my army.
You not only counter deploy them, you counter deploy their first turns of movement.
Yeah.
Like in any game that I go second, if there's decent terrain, I will negate killing something first turn every time.
And you got so many units that you never get the +1.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing too. If you win that roll off, go second. But we'll get to that.
As a Genestealer call player, if you're somebody else, you go second.
Yeah, if somebody else, you go second.
Mind you, in ITC, going second is so huge anyway. Most of the time,
it is. It's true.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, for sure.
The thing that is not real. It's just maybe something that gets in your head if you haven't played a lot of Genestealer Cult. Before the game's even started, you see the guy's army, and he's got so much stuff.
Yeah.
Like hundreds of models. And then, so even before you start, you're like, wow. Like, there's so much stuff here, and all of it is deadly. And I remember we were playing that game against Jeff at CanHammer Team, Chris, and we thought we were through a lot of his army, and it was only half of his army. Yeah. Like, all his Aberrants were dead, and then there was another half of his army with all the rock saws in it. It's just so much stuff, wave after wave. It's really quite thematic, and that can really get in your head and kind of mess you up, too, before you even start the game.
It can, and a lot of the time, because you can actually bring 3 of those units, so they start on the table, and their power level and their being on the table matters for your deep striking, you can actually have very, very, very few models on the table to start the game. Like, very few. But when you actually have, like, 130 models, I've managed to start on the table with, like, 30.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Which is really good, because anybody that played 7th edition just knows the power of null deploying.
Yeah.
Like, I'm playing a guy that shoots like crazy. Oh, you can't shoot most of my stuff for 3 turns. And sometimes there's only so much terrain to hide your stuff.
Yeah.
So, that's why I think they're it's one of the hardest books to learn, but it's also one of the best. Okay, so I think that's blips.
That's blips.
That's just the army.
That's just like army passive.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of strategies that help them out. Like the perfect ambush is a big one. Perfect ambush is when something comes in from deep strike. You can either move D3, or move D6, sorry, when they come in. But the bigger one that it's used for is shooting in the movement phase.
Yeah.
So when they come in, they immediately shoot, which means for the next part, the lying in wait, because one of the big units we'll talk about is the flamer bomb. If you bring something in and you shoot in the movement phase, you can clear a screen and then deep strike something immediately afterwards closer to the unit you actually want to get to.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was shoot at the end of, like, after all deep strikers are deployed. Not really. It just yeah, you're right. Yeah, so that's an interesting point. So there's 2 units that are, I guess, used for that. It's the Jackals and the Flamer Bomb. And so the Flamer Bomb, what's their proper name? I always call them the Flamer Bomb.
They're
acolytes, yeah. They're just
hand flamers.
Yeah, so they all have hand flamers. Hand flamers have a range of 6 inches.
Freaking hand flamers, that's the problem.
Yeah. How many points are hand flamers, everybody?
Like
1 point.
Yeah, it's like nothing. Might as well be free.
1 point.
But that would kind of make sense, because you're like, they have 6-inch range, so normally they wouldn't be able to shoot when they I'm going to use the word deep strike. Everybody knows what that means, coming in. But because, as Dustin said, you can come in within 3 inches of an enemy, and then you can shoot. You can just drop your hand flamers in and kill like 30 boys. You can kill easily 30 guardsmen, 40 guardsmen with one unit.
You can do it against plague bearers too, because if you have the bladed cog, because remember this will talk about a bit of the units too, but you make them bladed cog, it means that you can take a warlord trait that if they're within 6 inches of the warlord that has this, you pick a unit when the game starts, and plague bearers usually start on the table, pick that one, and they reroll all wounds against that target.
Oh, nasty.
And so they're only strength 3, but when they're rerolling all their wounds, it's insane.
So that flamer bomb unit, does it kill 30 plague bearers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like with the rerolls or without the rerolls? With
the rerolls, on average, it should kill around 25 with the rerolls. It can kill, but yeah.
What else kills 25 in one turn? Right? Not much.
That's worth 160 points.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
Chaos cry.
It's gross.
and countering chaos is something you really want to do nowadays. So.
Yeah. Well, usually if you really need to, you just fire again in the shooting phase too. If they keep them close enough, usually they won't.
That's gross.
Remember, they still get to shoot in the shooting phase too, so don't keep things close there.
Yeah, but then you want to leave your screen, right? Because then something else is coming in right behind them, so it's tough.
Well, you do. Well, yeah, but that's the movement phase, though.
Yeah, so what you'd have to do... I guess we'll get to mitigating
We'll get to that. Yeah,
we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later.
I'm jumping ahead. I'm like, crap, this sucks.
There's so much stuff to talk about. We got the time. It's okay. No rush. They actually... one thing I want to say, too, is they do have some of the best characters in the game, point for point. In fact, I would arguably say they are the best characters, point for point. They are.
Yeah, they're all cheap.
They're all cheap. And they're
all around 70, 60 to 80, right?
Well, between like 50 and 80 points.
Yeah.
And they all have useful abilities. That's the thing.
Yes. They are all ridiculously
good. There's no
good.
Loser characters. It's hard to decide which ones not to take.
So what's like a normal character loadout, or do I go one at a time, or...
Well, we can get to that part. Sure. There's still more tactical tricks too.
Okay, we'll keep going.
We'll get to the units. But the Brood Coven, I was going to say that because the Brood Coven's one of the better tricks too, because they can have technically they can have 5 warlords if they really want to. They have both the Vigils detachments. But the Brood Coven thing you'll see a lot of, because most people have at least one Patriarch and a Primus. So they can have any warlord trait they really need. They have some good ones. So you'll usually see any G-Circle player take at least a Primus and a Patriarch with that. The Magus also gets one too, but I find a lot of people, unless they really need a specific third warlord trait with him, they'll just take a second Patriarch, because point for point Patriarchs are just value, like straight up value. So there's no point in taking a Magus, because Patriarch does all the things that he does, plus he kicks the shit out of things in close combat too. But that's something to keep in mind too. So they will any warlord traits they need, they will have them. Also, returning things to Deep Strike. They can, every turn for 1 CP, they can bring something back off the board. As long as they're not in combat. I think it actually 3 inches away. It might only be 1 inch. But I think it's 3 inches.
I think it's 3, yeah.
Yeah. So as long as they're not in combat, basically, they can be brought off the table. They have to come in the next turn, but still, if you're in a spot that you either don't need them there, you need to teleport them somewhere else, go ahead, 1 CP.
Shenanigans, man. Shenanigans.
And I should point out, too, that Acolytes are good for this, because they have return D6 models to a troop unit. And Acolytes are troops.
Yeah, when they come back, yeah.
No, that's actually just a strat.
Oh, it's strat.
It used to be, like, I think that was in the Codex, not the Codex, the Index. 7th edition, that when they come off, then they get D6 back automatically, which would be cool if that's what it did, but no, now it's a separate strat. That's only their psychic powers are actually something we should talk about too. Mental Onslaught's not as bad as it used to be. I like what they did with Mental Onslaught. For anybody that doesn't know what Mental Onslaught used to be, it's old school Mirror Minds, where you combine your leadership against the target's leadership. It's a targeted like moral wounds bomb, basically. And we have a Patriarch, which is 10 leadership automatically. You would give him the Inspiring Leader from the rule book to give him +1 leadership. If he's near the Acolyte banner with the Vigilus relic, he has another +1. If he's near a Clemavis, he's another +1. So he's at 13 leadership. And then you can give Horror if you brought Tyranids. There's 4 or 5 ways to get -1 leadership to a target as well. So basically, you could pop a Castellan just by
Yeah, it just automatically does immortal. You don't even have to roll.
Automatically does immortal. You have to tie it or beat it, but you can get the big enough difference that you can't do that. Now, if the opponent rolls a 6, no matter what, it stops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Which
the average now the average now is what, 2 or 3 or maybe 4 more.
The average is around 4, roughly, depending on.
So a little bit better than like.
A little bit better than it's not. Yeah, it's to the point now that if they did what they were talking about before, 'cause for a little while they were actually talking about. I'm trying to remember what
limit of 6.
Limit of 6, which it sounds like still really powerful, but the thing is, the amount of things you have to have go right to get it to go off automatically, it wouldn't be worth bringing it anymore.
Yeah,
like I probably wouldn't even use it now. Because there's that chance that it can even do more than that, I just won't put any bonuses into the Patriarch, and I'll just say, all right, well, let's see what happens. Sometimes I get lucky, and it's like there's a couple of times I've done like 8 wounds still. There's other times that I'll do 1 because they roll a 6 right off the bat. It automatically does 1. Always does 1. Sure, point that out. So no matter what, you're still getting a mortal wound. And it's a targeted not smite, but targeted mortal wounds. So it's the same kind of thing with the Demon Thousand Sunless. So you have a couple of options for that too. So it's still
you can pick that crutch character and he's gone. Yeah.
Exactly. And it says that this is something, too, that I don't know if people realize this. It says pick a model, which means if you go to like a Plague Bearer unit and say, I'm going to pick that Banner Bearer, if it keeps going off, you don't have to kill the Banner Bearer. You can kill somebody else. But then it says that if the model doesn't die, you do it again. Which means you can keep killing off other guys in the unit until either they succeed or they kill off the Banner Bearer.
That's a tough choice. Choice. That's a good one. I like that.
A lot of people don't know that trick, so be careful where you place your actual models that have special equipment on them because they can be targeted.
What's the range on that one?
It's only 18, but 18 is still pretty good.
Yeah, especially when you're like kind of able to null deploy them and
you're a Patriarch. And you don't mind being close to things because you're a monster in combat.
Yeah, they're gross. They're scary. Yeah.
And also, mind control is another thing you need to be aware of.
Yeah, that's the crazy one. That's the part that's like...
It's only 12 inches, but again, if you deep strike something, and with lying away, it could be with just outside of 3. If you 3d6 goes off, 3d6 more than your leadership, then you fire everything.
You just got to make sure you got somebody touching your big shooters.
if you have people within 1 inch, then you can't shoot with them, but you can fight. But it's still, if you have like an infantry there, that's fine. Whatever. There's a lot of ways.
It forces somebody with like a Castellan or just to have a model right next to it, babysitting it, or you have to screen 15 inches. So yeah, it just changes the game enough to. But that's huge. Back when the Castellan was heavy, you started seeing a lot of Tyranid players just throw that guy in the.
It was I did it too. Even at CanHammer, I managed to mind control a Shadow Sword, which was satisfying. I see why people take those.
And you shot another. Did you shoot? Was it Diogo?
No, it wasn't Diogo. He brought Shadow Swords to CanHammer?
No, sorry, I was thinking Sudbury.
Oh, okay.
So you're like, I'll take your Shadow Sword, shoot another Shadow Sword.
It was fun. Every time I do that, I was like, I see why people take these. This is a good unit.
I remember 2 years ago, Index Genestealers. I was playing at CanHammer, Capital City Bloodbath doubles with Phil. And I mind controlled because they were big at the time, a storm raven, and like took like half his army off the board with the storm raven. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, mind control can be a game changing power. Like it's dirty, and I love it. And people don't always expect it to.
What's it cast on?
It cast on a 6, I think.
Okay, so it's easy.
It's very easy, especially depending on which people probably wouldn't put it on them. But they have a relic to get +1 to cast as well. The only thing is, too, like I point out, too, you have to have a familiar. Otherwise, you can only cast 1 spell a turn. Again, it's hard because Genestealer has some really good psychic power, so you want to take that familiar just so you can, once a game, cast 2 powers when you really need to. But, yeah, only being able to cast 1, it's a hard choice because they have a lot of good ones. One of the other things, you don't see this very much. That's why I said I wanted to go down to or say the popular ones first, but you don't see this much. I used it for a while. I still kind of like it, but Genestealer can summon, and their summoning is, in my opinion, better than what the demon summoning is.
It's a stratagem, right?
It's a stratagem, so it's 2 CP. But when you summon out of ambush, so you come anywhere.
Yeah,
as if you're deep striking.
You're not tied to the character that summoned you.
You're that cult of whatever character summoned you, but you're not tied to them. You can go anywhere. Now, before I don't know if people will realize, but the FAQ actually nerfed it from lying in wait, because they said to do lying in wait, you have to start underground. So you can't do it with summoning anymore. I used to summon flamer bombs when I needed them, but you can't do that.
Okay.
Summon a flamer bomb right into like 3 inches away.
Yeah, but you can't do that. You can't use lying in wait with it anymore. You still use perfect ambush, but you can't use lying in wait, which was a big deal. But the thing with their summoning too, you roll 3d6, and then that's the power level or less of what you can summon. You have to have the points, obviously, for it. But with Genestealer Cult, 3d6, and their Kelomorph, for example, is power level 3. It's like, oh shit, I failed. I rolled 3 ones. I guess I'm summoning a Kelomorph. Damn. It was just like, even if you fail, you win.
How can that guy only be power level 3?
I don't know, man, but it's great.
Well, lots of kill team box. That's right? Why.
That's why, yeah.
It's in the kill team box.
Yeah, they're like, if we raise that power level, you can't be there, kill team.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's the thing with him, because anytime I wouldn't get the power level I wanted, I just summoned a Kelomorph, and it'd be like,
boo-hoo. I'll just kill 3 of your characters instead.
Yeah, just kill 3 of your characters or a couple of your infantry squads. Get some.
Just to make sure I got the lingo right, that's the dude with the 2 pistols, right?
Yeah.
3 pistols.
3 pistols. That's right. He has 3 arms.
Come on, guys, both wrong.
I don't play kill team.
But he has a lot of shots. It's unbelievable.
It's 12 shots.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, 3 power level. Okay.
No, I that guy does I only know from playing against them, but that guy comes in and is like, oh, you just killed, I couldn't believe it how many shots that guy had.
He's incredible. We can talk about them in a bit too. We're almost at the units. There are 2 more things that I wanted to bring up just in terms of just strategy tricks. Lurk in the Shadows is one, so they have a strat that unit can't be targeted if they're in cover. If they're not listed the closest unit for shooting. So even though they're squishy, it's really effective when they're trying to either grab an objective, hold an objective. It's something to keep in mind. Just because they have a unit in the open back there, as long as they're in cover, there's a possibility they can save them from shooting.
That's huge for ITC especially, because you could deny that kill a unit first turn for your opponent and score an objective that maybe is in a crater or something kind of out in the open. That's one thing that I always struggle with my orcs is, in ITC first turn, sometimes there's always that objective where I'm like, I got to throw something away to get it, but you don't have to because you just use a stratagem. You're like, oh, you have to shoot this unit that's in a building way up close.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'll use that a lot too, just with having a character closer, because it doesn't specify it can't be a character. So a character can just hide up there, and then the infantry unit can't be shot now because they're not the closest.
Oh, that's gross. That's good. That's a really good stratagem.
Yeah. And there's one that people don't use at all. I've used it a couple of times, and it can be game changer because it's a little expensive. But Greg of the Tau. I've seen a lot of people taking him now. You know what I'm talking about? The Tau character?
Yeah, he's the guy that came out in the Black Reach bot. No, what's that game? The new game?
Blackstone Fortress?
Yeah, it's Blackstone Fortress Tau guy, right?
Yeah. So he has once a game on a 4-up in the movement phase, something takes D3 mortal wounds. We have a strat that does that.
Yeah. Now he's really cheap and awesome, but yeah, and you have a lot of CP, so we
usually have a lot of CP, but that's the thing too, because we're very CP heavy, and it's 2 CP, so it's pretty steep for a 50% chance of D3 mortal wounds. But at the right time, it can be game changing.
Oh, the right character, the right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, Aramon, you took some damage there.
Well, on characters it's -1.
Oh, that's right. So it's a 5-up.
So it's a 5-up. But against units of 10 or more, it's +1 as well. So it's a little bit different. So it's not as good against characters. But again, when it goes off,
sometimes you need that gamble, though. Sometimes you just need to gamble. You're like, oh, I just need that to happen.
Now, there's a reason we have the LVO in Vegas, man, because it's all about luck sometimes. You just got to take that gamble.
So how about the demo charge bomb?
The demo charge bomb? Well, that's kind of goes with one of the units. It's the Adel Jackals, or you can take it on some of the Acolytes too, but there's a strat that Genestealer have to everybody in the unit can throw a grenade, and up to 5 of them can throw their demo charges. So their demo charges are strength 8, -3, D3 damage, D6 shots.
D6 shots.
D6 shots.
And don't they get +1 hit and wound as well, or something with it?
That's the bugs and rusted claws. So let's get into the units then, because now we're starting to get into some more.
Well, is there any more stratagems, or are we basically done? So there's one lets you throw your grenades. That's pretty like a lot of books have the grenade one. The orcs, they nerfed it. Well, they didn't nerf it. I had like a wet dream one day where I was reading it and I was like, can I throw all 30 grenades? No, it's limited. So I'm glad to see yours is limited as well to 5.
The demo charges, then 10 more guys can throw a grenade, which is why a 15-man biker squad is perfect.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that now. Then talk about some of the units, because I think that's all the stratagems. Most they have other ones, but most of them are.
Those are the ones that I've personally encountered. I don't think you missed any of the competitive ones. Maybe there's a couple little ones here there that you use for little things, but I think we got most of them.
Yeah, the rest of them are like you can shoot a vehicle and fully add it. The rest of them, like they have uses, but you won't see them as often, and they're not like big gotchas.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and if you calculate the stratagems we just said you need to use,
that's the
you're
thing.
Basically out of CP now. So
how many strats did we just talk about? That we are very CP hungry. If you don't have triple battalion at that minimum with Genestealer Cult, you're going to run out turn 2 easy.
Well, that's easy. Even then, you still do. With 50-point characters and like 50-point troop units, or is it 40-point troop units?
40 points for Brood Brothers, 35 for 5.
There you go. So you can make a battalion for nothing.
Yeah.
Like there's no reason not to. None.
Yeah.
So, start going through some of the units then.
Sure.
All right. We'll start with the HQs because they're the easy ones. HQs, there's no bad option for their HQs. Every single one of them is amazing. The ones you will always see, you'll always see a patriarch.
So which are the general?
If you have a patriarch and you are a Genestealer Cult, he has to be the warlord. Has to be.
So can we just go through like just quickly like this guy, because some of them like reroll ones here, some do this, some do that, right? Mm-hmm. Can we just quickly summarize them, just because I know that a lot of people won't be able to follow the lingo.
The biggest thing about the patriarch is he makes everybody freaking immune to battle shock.
Yeah,
which is
makes
crazy.
Everybody heroes but they have to be either Brood Brothers or the same cult. So if you're mixing cults, unless they're Brood Brothers, he doesn't make them for this. But yeah, when you have 20-man squads, free fearless bubble's a pretty big deal. Yeah. And he has access to the psychic powers. He's also a better Brood Lord. So like strength 6 attacks, toughness 5, rerolling all wounds, -3. He's got monster running claws for those of you that are familiar with that. So it's -3, -6 on a 6, D3 damage, or straight 3 on a 6. Like he hits hard.
Yeah, he's got a lot of wounds too, right? Like 6?
Yeah.
He's got 6. And the thing with them too, when you take the familiar, which usually you will because you want the extra psychic power once a game.
You can use it.
When you take, you could use it. But the familiar also is just technically a separate model. And he has 1 wound.
Yeah.
So take a D6 damage attack.
Yeah, eats it.
Yeah.
Eats it.
Yeah. There's lots of things like that in the game, and it's well worth doing.
Oh, that was the other thing too. They have the lookout sir, the old school lookout sir on the 4-up.
Yeah.
Which is
they're not dying. Yeah.
They're not dying. Their characters are hard to kill.
So the characters behind the line that also get a lookout sir, in addition to not being able to be targeted, but if you happen to be able to target them, they get a lookout sir. And it has 6 wounds anyway, so it's very hard.
And he gets to make a save before the lookout sir has to come up.
Ugh. Like even like a Vindicare, like they struggle to get through 4 wound
Vindicares are not worth it.
Vindicares don't do anything against them.
We can actually talk about which assassin taking how to beat them too, because I have personal experience of which one everybody should take. They might be surprised. But it's not the Vindicare.
I like the Calidus. Just make them spend more CP and then you run out.
I have an opinion on that, but we'll get to that. But yeah, the Patriarch you'll always see at least 1, probably 2, because they're very efficient for their points. They're amazing. You'll also always see a Primus as long as they have close combat, because the Primus is the aura within 6 inches. They get +1 to hit, so they're basically hitting on 2s.
Yeah.
Primus himself is not a beast in combat. He can do a bit of damage, but he folds like wet paper, like most people. Sometimes if I know I'm going to be getting him into close combat, I'll because he's in my bladed cog detachment, which means they get +1 of their invuln, or they get a 6-up invuln. And there's a relic that you can give him that gives him a 4-up invuln. So I basically can give the Primus a 3-up invuln. Sometimes I do that. Kind of fun.
Just so he lives.
Usually
+1 hits huge in combat against things like Plague Bearers.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're minus. They a lot of the time their front line is -2 to hit. Nah, I don't really care about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus 1 to hit is gross. Yeah, it really
plus 1 to hit is amazing. Like, you got to remember too that Acolytes hit on 3s normally, and they have a banner bear that gives them reroll 1s. So when they're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, they're not missing.
That's like,
and they have like four attacks each usually.
2 rending claws and cultist knife, so 3.
3, and then it's the aberrants have 4, right? No,
no, it's still the same thing.
Okay, never mind. They all have 3 attacks, but that's still 60 attacks, all hitting. So Venomorph, okay. Well, that's still like a lot. That's like, I do 60 hits.
Well, it's because it's the rock styles with them, but we'll get to that too. There's a lot to talk about. But yeah, the Primus, you'll always see one of those two. As long as they have close combat, they're bringing a Primus. They only get that bonus to members of their cult though, so they have to. Sometimes you'll actually see people take 2 Primuses if they have like the Twisted Helix Battalion for their aberrants, and then Bladed Cog or 4-Armed Emperor for another one. But I see a lot of people just going pure 4-Armed Emperor because that gives them the +1 to charge.
Yep, and it's a cheap HQ. You need 6 minimum. So
yeah. There's no reason not to take him. I think Patriarch and a Primus are just the go-tos for anything. Most of them will also take the Icon Ward. This guy is amazing too. He's 53 points. Gives Field of Paint to models within 6 inches. So it used to be the units, but now it's models, which is kind of poopy with big units, but whatever. He also it's the relic you can take with him because he's part of the Vigilance detachment. Because he's an Acolyte, so he gets that keyword. You can give him the Warlord trait to reroll charge distances, which you need.
And they get +3 to their charge, right?
No, the Acolyte's best charge bonus they can get is +2 with Clamavis nearby and 4-Armed Emperor.
Okay, well, +2 is not bad when you're
+2 rerolling. Yeah, +2 rerolling.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Aberrants can get +3 because their Vigilance Warlord trait is +1 to charge, so they can get +3.
So the Aberrants get the +3.
Yeah, Aberrants get +3. Yeah.
All I know is I've had +3 to charge against, but I'm like, well, with reroll, like, how are you going to fail? I don't even know.
They have the reroll with CP though, since they're not Acolytes, so they don't get the reroll Warlord trait. But still,
they still hit you. It's like you can't stop that.
6 inches. That's not including perfect ambush, by the way. If you want to get an extra D6.
Yeah. Oh, gross.
So
it is gross.
They rarely fail their charge.
It's like Eldar. There's just too many things. It's just like
this is the thing too. Like that there's so much Sonobo G's they're called. It's impossible to know it all if you don't play them.
Chest clock them. Yeah.
Chest clock them. Yeah.
That's our only chance. That's our strategy tip for tonight.
Chest clock. Well, it's a good idea to chest clock any G Circle player. I'll be honest too. Like I practice so much with clock because I know that I have to know my shit. Otherwise, I'm not going to finish the game.
When I've played against some newer players, it literally takes them like half an hour to put their blips down because they don't see their models on the board, so they can't figure out where they actually want things to go. And then their first turn takes like another half an hour because now they actually have to do the deployment phase. So it can take newer or less proficient players a long time to play because this is a tricky army to play.
Yeah, and it took me a long time to get used to, all right, I'm putting this blip down here because of this in my head. I'm putting this blip down here because of this in my head. A lot of people they're putting down their blips, but 90% of the players, at least right now, when they put down a blip, they already know what it's going to be. Like, they know. I had to train myself to have a couple ideas in my mind because I didn't want to just otherwise I'd usually just need to deploy it anyway. There's no point in, if I'm putting a blip here and it's going to be a mortar team, why wouldn't I just put the mortar team there? It's going to save me time. It's going to save me mind power. So it took me a while to kind of get to that point. While the blips are extremely strong, it is very difficult for a G-Circle player to really deploy the way they wanted to, though. A lot of them will mess up their deployment with the blips. It takes practice.
Yeah.
It absolutely takes practice.
Yeah, I can see, because you got to deploy in your head, basically.
Yeah, you do. You absolutely do.
Okay, continue on the HQs. Any other ones?
Oh, yeah, we got the Magus. Yeah. This is one that you'll kind of see 50% of the time. You'll see them if they need a third Warlord trait that they specifically want, like if they're bringing I'm not going to talk about that yet because it's one of my tricks, but if there's a specific Warlord trait that they want, they will take a Magus. Sometimes they'll take it for a cheap throwaway unit that can cast a Psychic Power that they'll kind of deep strike him in. The other thing is he actually gives some good psychic defense because when he's within, I think it's 12 inches of the same cult, then those guys can deny within 12 inches.
Yeah, every unit can deny.
Yeah, gives them more denies. So it could be a big deal. It doesn't work on Brew Brothers. They have to be at least neophytes or acolytes.
Still something, right? That's always nice to throw the dice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. That extra deny. It's fantastic, right?
Roll an 11 to cast. They just roll boxcars to some crappy unit.
Ruins the day. Like I just denied you. That sucks.
It comes up, man. Sometimes you give games and it's like you feel like you never deny anything, and then other games you're like, I denied everything.
Yeah.
when you deny, it's a big deal. When you just deny for free, why not?
Yeah.
So if you find you hit, and the thing with Genestealer cult, because they only have the 2 psychers, having a Magus in there to give you more denies if you're straight Genestealer cult, it's not a bad idea. There's 2 more. Sorry.
Yeah.
One that you'll see pretty often is an Abominant.
Okay.
So I personally don't like the Abominant. I'll tell you why, but he's the Aberrant HQ. So basically, if he's within 6 inches of Aberrants, on 6s, they hit twice. It's great. Do Aberrants need an extra hit? Not usually. Not usually. He's only 80 points, and he's a monster too. Like his attacks are minimum D3 or minimum 3 damage. He rolls a D6, but it's minimum 3. And it's like negative, I think it's negative 3. Yep, negative 3. And he's strength 10 minimum, easily buffed to higher if you need it. The problem is he only has 3 attacks. And yeah, any 6s are 2 hits, but his weapon is also -1 to hit, so he's hitting on 4s. Unless he's near Primus.
The standard Aberrants are almost better. I guess if you're committed to doing like 30 Aberrants or something like that,
you probably need an
he's probably worth it. Just I don't know, maybe not, but I know what you're saying, because you're like, oh, the Aberrants charge, they kill you, they don't need the additional attacks.
Yeah, and he himself he's good. 80 points, probably worth just 80 points with his stat line and everything, and he's ridiculously hard to kill. And when I did run him, I would usually run him separately as Bladed Cog, because I didn't need the buff on my Aberrants when I brought them. I would bring him as Bladed Cog and give him the 3-up involved. So then he's just a nuisance. Like, he just would not die. -1 damage, he heals every turn, and he's got a 3-up involved with the Field of Pain. Like, he's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, you can just stop a unit, or you can take a backfield, because one guy coming in is really easy to fit in, like holes and stuff places.
But I haven't seen anybody else really do that. I've tried that a few times. It actually is pretty good. Like, whenever I bring the Abominant, that's how I'll run him, because I think that's the best way to do it, because then even though he might not kill things, he still has to be removed, because he's annoying.
It's actually cheaper than an assassin.
Yeah, there you go. 5 points.
When there's like 5 other good HQ choices that are cheaper, some of them are cheaper.
They're so good. That's the other thing too, because you have so many HQ choices, that every single one of them, in my opinion, is better.
Yeah, he might be better in it wouldn't really work, but in another army. But in this army, because the HQs are so amazing and plentiful. Yeah, I understand that's a choice, but in like a lot of other books, you'd be like, wow, if I get to strike twice on 6s and have this really tough character, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, and part of the Vigilance detachment too, he gets the reroll 1 strat, he gets the fight after death, so he can be good. He can be good.
That fight after death strat is terrifying on Aberrants.
It is.
Because you're like, oh, I'm going to charge this squishy unit and kill it. Oh no, they just killed me. Oh, I still killed them, but they killed me.
They just killed me.
Yeah.
And Genestealer called it a lot about trades, so that's why they're good for that.
Oh yeah, it ate a unit of Custodes bikers.
They would definitely do that. They're perfect. They're perfect for Custodes.
Well, you don't charge. I don't know why I did it. I shouldn't have done. I should just shot.
I told you that.
I know. It's hard. And when you're playing the ringer too, you're like, I'm the ringer.
Yeah, what do you care? Just have fun. The last HQ was the Jackal HQ, the Jackal Alphas.
Oh, we didn't talk about the Sanctus.
That's elite.
Oh, that's elite? Oh.
Yep.
Elite.
So that's the banner guy, right?
No, that's the biker.
No, never mind. Just keep going. Biker.
The biker. She's the biker sniper. So you won't often see her unless there's either heavy bikes or they're going for like hive cult shooting, if they want a backline shooting. She's the one that she picks something on the field within 36 inches, and everything within 6 inches, 12 inches if your bikes, gets +1 to hit against it.
Okay. And she'd be good if you took like lots of bikes.
Well, she's good with bikes, or again, something that I've been playing with the Hive Cult stuff, because Hive Cult is weak, and you can make G-Circle shooty. You can actually have like their rock grinders and Goliaths and their neophytes hit on 2s, rerolling 1s in the shooting phase with her.
Pretty good.
Generally, you won't see her that often unless you're either filling out a brigade. You like having with the bikes because then the demo charges can come and hit on 2s.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah,
if you're gonna, you can, but it's risky just because you have to have this character there specifically for that. I haven't found
too many moving parts maybe to set up.
It's too many moving parts. It's really hard to pull off correctly. Even though you have a 12-inch bubble, because a lot of the time the targets you want to bomb isn't going to be in a place that your biker lady can get to.
Okay.
I like her because she's a mobile character, because she has like 14-inch movement, and if she's Rusted Claw, she can technically use the move twice strat. That's the +1 to hit, +1 to wound strat that you're talking about earlier, Darren. That's for Rusted Claw, and that's +1 to hit, +1 to wound with grenade weapons. And then after you resolve your shooting attacks, you get to move and advance again.
Yeah.
Doesn't say grenades. So if she has a 36-inch range sniper, she can move, fire her sniper rifle, and then get to move 14 plus D6 again.
As if the +1 hit and wound wasn't good enough. Oh, you also get a free move.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too. You can do it afterwards. So, like, I'll bring her Rusted Claw. So I give her the target. All right, everybody around me is getting +1 to hit. Cool. That thing's dead. All right, now I'm going to shoot something, and I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm out.
So like, I actually love the Alphys. I love her.
And she's just like one of the models in the box, right, though? Is that like in the bike box? Like, you can't buy her separate, can you?
No, you buy her separately.
Oh, she is separate. Okay.
Separate, yeah.
I have her right there.
Oh.
Is it a she? I didn't realize it was a she.
It's a she. It is a she.
All right.
Those bike models are so nice.
I love them.
Yeah.
I told myself that even if they were garbage, I would buy at least 15 of them.
They're like the Rough Riders that the guardsmen always wanted but never got.
It's funny too, because when they were first, like when the Genestealer book first came out, everybody looked at it and was like, "Oh, these guys are garbage," but they're great. I love them. Those are the HQs.
Cool. So troop choices, any tricks there? Are they all pretty standard, or
the troop choices? Acolytes.
Acolytes
are the best ones.
You'll see two more than anything. You'll see Brood Brothers because they're guard units, 40-point, 10-man infantry squads. So
you see lots of them. They hide on objectives. They screen.
They have all the ambush rules. So they can do all that crazy stuff. They can't get orders anymore, which sucks if they're brought in Genestealer College. But it's fine. They were usually not used that much for it anyway. But the one you'll see Brood Brothers more. But the one you'll see also is the Acolytes, because one, they're the guys with the 1-point flavor, so they're the flavor bombs, and they also have the greatest weapon in the game, the Rock Saw.
Yeah, those things are disgusting.
They are nasty.
And you can have 4 in a unit, which is stupid.
No, you can have 8 in a unit.
8? Oh, shit.
Yeah, but
that's crazy.
I'm going to say, I point this out too, and I know Scary, I preach this to him all the time. 4 is enough, guys. Don't take more than 4. There's so many things that 4 of them kill.
Because they're still, they're not cheap, right? They're
10 points. That's which is
they
more
are
than
cheap.
the model itself.
I thought did they used to be more then?
Yes, they used to be.
So my experience from building GSC lists is we wanted to take them to Adepticon like a year or two, like before the new book came out. But yeah, the rock saws were like disgusting expensive. I think they were like 25.
Yeah, it was 25 points.
25 points each. But now at 10 points, why don't you take 8 almost, right?
Well,
because you just take more units with 4. I don't know.
I do. But the index? Yeah, when the index was coming out, I was still using rock saws because I loved rock saws back then. Like, man, I love these. Are just too expensive, but I still liked having one unit just kind of smash into something. When the Codex came out and I saw the point drop on these, I lost my shit. Like, oh my god, I am taking so many of these things. Like, this is incredible. They win games because strength 8 with no buffs, nothing. You can give like the Banner Bearer, which you usually have near with +1 strength to beat strength 9, 10. Strength 8, -4, 2 damage, no minus to hit. So they're going to be hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s.
So silly.
That's what it is, the no minus to hit.
And
it's only damage 2. Woo.
With the Vigilance Detachment, you'll also be able to get them +1 to wounds. So on most things, you'll be able to be wounding on 2s, and with the Primus coming in, you get to pick something and reroll 1s against that to wound. So you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. You don't need more than 4 of those.
8 would be just super killing. I don't know. Then get the Aberrants and take all.
That's what I do. That's what I do. I only have 10-man squads most of the time, like a 10-man squad of Acolytes, 6 regular guys and 4 rock saws. There is not a thing in the game that they can't kill.
Well, 30 plague bearers they won't kill.
I've done that. You need Might from Beyond. Yeah, it's Might from Beyond.
Do they have enough tax to kill 30?
With the Might from Beyond, they can, sure, but that's what you have the flaggers for. Okay. Actually, really, sorry, I should almost anything in the game.
Almost. There you go. We'll correct that.
They're elite killers.
That's pretty gross, though. That's pretty gross.
So I'll usually have 2 of those.
And you want the bodies. If you're only taking 10-man units, you could just take more 10-man units with 4. You get the more ablative wounds. Yeah, I get it.
Like a 10-man unit with 4 rock saws is 120 points, and they kill a night.
Jesus. I think you're going to get a nerf bat coming at you. Everything's going to go up 10%.
No, they just got cheap.
No, they're totally going to get nerfed.
Don't touch my Acolytes, okay?
10 dudes like that shouldn't be able to kill anything in the game. Yes,
they should. I think they should, and they do.
Not at that point, Scott.
They die though. They're paper. And if they fail the
boo.
This is my crying face. Okay.
No, okay. Let's move on to elites.
Elites is where they have a lot more of their characters. So the ones you'll see the most of, you'll see the Clamavus because it's +1 to charge for anybody within 6 inches. He also has a deep strike denial button. A deep strike denial aura up 12 inches, so nothing can come within 12 inches where he is. So 55 points, he's usually worth it for +1 to charge. I've found I actually don't include him as much anymore because 55 points for +1 to charge is great, but I'm not worried about failing my charge as much.
Just because you can hide? Is that what you're...
Because I can hide, because I can perfect ambush the guys are coming in, because they're rerolling to charge anyway. I've failed a few charges, but it's never lost me a game. No, I shouldn't say never. But that +1 wouldn't have changed it.
Yeah. That makes sense. I kind of get, because you're so MSU, and your units hit so hard, that you're making 5-6 charges sometimes. So it's not like with other armies where you're like, I got this, make this 1 charge with my big unit. It's like, I got 5 charges. 2 of them have to go off.
Yeah. If you have a lot of guys that are trying to make a charge on the same turn, I can see where his value would be coming in because then all of them get that bonus. They all have a better chance of doing it.
Yeah, and again, sounds really good.
This is just my opinion. He's amazing. He's really good. The way I'm playing Genestealer Call right now, I don't feel I need him as often. So I use that 55 points elsewhere because we have such cheap stuff.
Is that the guy that brings the map of GW with him everywhere?
No, that's the Nexos. That's our CP regen guy. He's also the guy.
When your whole army is that cheap, it's like, whatever. Yeah. I don't need these guys. like as you say, 55 to saying to us is like, oh my god, that guy's so cheap. But you're like, he's expensive. I got guys that are 10 points.
You're talking to Custodes guy, man. $55 is the points I have left at the end of a list.
That's how many points it is for one of your weapons.
Yep.
Yeah, so the other elites. Kelemorph, that's the one you'll see the most of. The Kelemorph is a monster. So 3 pistols, all of them get 2 shots, and every hit is another shot. And he hits on 2s. And if he kills something, or kill the model, then he rerolls 1s to hit as well. And you can do it one at a time. It's like, all right, I'm going to fire this pistol. Oh, I killed something, now I'm going to get reroll 1s on the rest of them.
Yeah, you still got to declare them, obviously, before you roll. But yeah, that's still crazy.
Yeah, and
how many points is that guy again? Is he 10?
60.
4? 3 points? 60?
10 points too expensive? 10 points too expensive?
60 is pretty good.
10 points
power level, 10 points?
I mean, if he was 55, I'd probably bring him, but I don't know.
No, 60 is that's an elite character. That's
so
you can also give him the relic too, where he gets an extra shot with one of the pistols and it rerolls wounds against characters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, his pistol's strength 4, so it's not that strong, but it's -1/2 damage.
I like that guy. I like that guy a lot.
He's a sniper too. He's a sniper.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I like about him is that he it just adds that element of even if you're not using him, you can use them just to cause the enemy to hide their characters and play differently. You don't necessarily like his damage output isn't why he's so scary.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
you just have to prepare for him because he'll come in and kill stuff if you don't.
It's a shock too because a lot of people expect you're like, I'm bubbling these Genestealer guys, I'm doing this, and it's like, oh, you got sniper shit? Like, Jesus.
Yeah. Speaking of snipers, let's talk about my favorite unit in the Genestealer cult book that I'm starting to see more people bring now. I think it's the best, and that's the Sanctus.
Okay.
I thought that was amazing right from the beginning, but then nobody was playing, which was weird. But anyway,
I have never not fielded this thing. This thing is incredible. So the Sanctus is a sniper, 36-inch range. Nothing too special. Their weapon is strength 4, like -2, ignore cover, D3 damage. So that's a sniper.
Pretty special. That's better than most snipers.
It's pretty good already, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
but there's more to it. Here's 6. This is 60 points. There's
30
more to it.
30 points.
It adds up though. Like if you start taking 3 or 4 of these guys, or sorry, 3 of these guys, you start taking 3 of the other guys.
180 points.
I generally only bring one because there's a relic that gives them +2 to wound with their sniper rifle.
+2 to wound. I
should say they also have a close combat weapon, but they could take it instead of the sniper rifle. I don't do that.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah, like that. You take one of each. You got a lot.
More to it. It's +2 to wound. So you're more because it's sniper. So you're mortal wound on 6s. So +2 to wound. You're mortal wounding on 4s. If you shoot a sniper and you wound a sniper or a psyker, they peril. Auto peril.
So gross.
And when you perfect ambush with the Sanctus, it costs 0 command points.
Yeah.
So you take 3 then, right?
No.
You can only use the stratagem once.
Yeah, you can only use it once. I know, I'm just teasing.
But the thing with that is, that means on your first turn, you're shooting twice with them. Because you can shoot when they're revealed from the blip. So even on my... you can use perfect ambush on your opponent's turn. So after they move, I'll make one of my blips a Sanctus and snipe a Psyker off the bat. Because I get to shoot in your turn.
Oh, it's free.
It is free. I've actually had people vect it before.
Is it Ridman vect it?
No, Ridman. There's usually no good target for them because they're not Psychers. But sometimes there's something that's worth shooting.
And he can just put them in the Venoms.
Yeah.
Well, it makes a big difference for me, man. I got to put my guys behind a wall.
Yep. I love playing Orcs with their weird boys out there. Weird boys die so easily to a Sanctus.
Yeah, because I can't afford those wounds. And it's the fact that I have perils, if I die,
You'll die to the perils.
So you're going to kill a
whole...
Yep.
Which means that I had to do, like, when we play, I did the same, like, you have to put your weird boys in all these different flanks, and it's like all across the line, and then they're not as effective. But
that's the thing that, because you have blips, it could show up anywhere, and I'll usually have a Nexus. The Nexus could take one of your blips and put it anywhere in your deployment zone. So whenever I reveal my Nexus, like, all right, this blip's going to go over here, and now it's a Sanctus, and now it's shooting this guy.
Oh, that weird boy right next to your war boss.
Yeah, I like that guy. Yeah. It's pretty juicy.
I do like 2 wounds to him, and then he perils, and then he kills everything around him.
Yeah. They get +1 to their save when they're in cover too, so they can get a 2-up save and cover.
Fair.
Sanctus. Sanctus.
Everybody should take him. Actually, yeah, I don't think I've played against too many of those now that you mention it.
I've started to see a couple more, but usually people don't bring them.
I don't know why, because it's so awesome. And
even
if there's no Psychers, it's still like a decent, just normal sniper.
Well, even if there's no Psychers, I won't give him the gift from Beyond Relic, so he doesn't +2 to wound. And a lot of time, I'll just keep him in reserve because he has a perfect ambush for free, which means when he comes on, he gets to move D6 or shoot for free anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's still decent in close combat, even without the close combat weapon.
Yeah, at least half the armies have Psychers too. So.
Yeah, a lot of them do. Like, the only thing he usually doesn't do anything against is Dark Eldar.
Which are really prevalent in our area.
They are really prevalent.
It doesn't sound they're that prevalent in other places.
Yeah, but he always does something for me. So I love them. They're the best. They're the best. I will preach for them forever. You won't really see a Biophage too often. Most people are running like 30 aberrants because he buffs one of them, I think, a turn. Buff each one of them once, they'll get a random buff. I don't find them that worth it. 35 points. Why not? If you're massing aberrants, why not?
Because there's a few of those characters in the game, right? That give those one-time buffs, but nobody ever seems to run them.
Well, he's 35 points. Again, it's cheap, and it does buff your aberrants. But again, aberrants generally don't need a buff.
35 points.
He's 35 points. They usually don't need a buff. And 35 points can do a lot that's an Acolyte squad. So, I mean,
oh my God.
For me, I prefer the Acolyte squad. The Locust you'll never see. You'll never see the Locust, really. They're like 6-inch heroically intervene. They're bodyguards. They can take wounds for characters on 2s. They're good in close combat, and they're -1 leadership bubble. When Mental Onslaught was still a thing, that they brought them for the -1 leadership bubble a lot of the time. I have one painted up because of that, but we won't see them too often. Other elites, I guess we should probably talk about what everybody knows, and that's the Aberrants.
Because they're popular.
They're extremely popular. People that listen to my podcast or listen to me talk about them know how I feel about them. You know how I feel about them now. They are incredible. Like they whatever they hit, they kill. Absolutely.
Yeah, they use street signs that just beat
they use street
crap
signs.
out of you.
That's why you'll see a lot of people run 10-man, because then you can have 2 of the improvised weapon, which double their attacks.
Yes, that's the crazy thing.
Like then their attacks are no sludge. Their attacks will be strength 10, -1, 2 damage, and you'll have 12 of those alone without buffs, just from those 2 guys, and there's still 8 more guys attacking. Like they'll kill whatever they hit, but for their points, I feel it's too much. Because people are bringing them because they're the most durable infantry in the Genestealer called Codex, which they are. But that's not saying much.
No, they're not durable at all.
Like they're still
they're like, unless you're a heavy shooting army.
If you're a heavy shooting army with like average strength, like high volume average strength, you'll wipe the floor with them. If you fire strong weapons at them, you won't kill many. Because they have the -1 damage. They have feel no pain. But they're only 5 up save. The toughness 4.
Yeah, one Limon Rust Punisher kills a unit.
Yep.
But that's like a Limon Rust Punisher is a major shooting unit in this game.
Tank kills an aberrant unit.
Same thing. Ladies Tank is a major shooting unit. Like
these things are all prevalent and will wipe out your expensive aberrant unit.
Yeah, but if you have anything else, like I agree. I think you should take small units. They hit hard, they kill, they're done. But it's just that like those 2 examples are great in Imperial lists, but unless you have heavy shooting, you can't. Like they still absorb firepower. Like you still
absorb firepower. You still have to put
stuff into them. That's why people like them, right? Like,
absolutely.
Like you have to commit to them.
Well, like I said, I'm not bashing them at all. I think they're amazing. To me, I don't find that they're worth it the way I play.
Maybe
if
they're
you can wrap things to use. Yeah, they are easier to use. Yeah, that's for sure. Like you still want to wrap things with them because again, you don't want them to get shot. Like if you see like Nick Donavati play with them, he knows how to wrap stuff really well with them. So that's how you have to play with them. Because if you go into close combat to kill aberrants, you lose. Even if you kill them, you still die.
That's the crazy thing. Yeah, that's the worst part about them. Yeah,
the Wolfen thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So even if you go into close combat with them, you still lose. So you want to shoot them out, but there's a lot of armies that don't have that option. So I get why they're so prevalent in that, because if you don't have good enough shooting to deal with them and you have to go to close combat, you're already sacrificing more than you need to, or more than you should have to kill those guys.
Yes.
So generally, if you bring them, you want to bring in 2 squads, at least of 10-man, because then they're maxed out and there's 2 big threats on the table. And that's a quarter of your army. But again, if that's your style of play, then they are fantastic.
If they take 2 turns of firepower, that's a quarter of the game, right? Not quite.
Exactly. The quarter of the game.
Well, it's a little bit over the quarter.
I see what you're doing there, though. I appreciate that.
But, for all the stuff that 2 units can kill, you still have 3/4 of your army that the person has to deal with after they've somehow survived 2 aberrant units, right? And
I just think a lot of people overcommit with the 3 units, and they're really good, but like there's so much more stuff that's way better. Like if you have 3 aberrants, you're not taking too many flamer bombs. You're not taking the Jekylls.
I think generally, if you bring 2 aberrant units, you'll have a flamer bomb, but you won't have any Jekylls.
Yeah, so it does restrict you. Yeah, 2 seems like a good number to me. 2
to me is both the minimum and the max. If you bring aberrants, bring 2 units of 10 with picks. I should point that out too, with picks, not the hammers. Okay. The hammers used to be the way to do it for people because they hit harder, but with the -1 to hit, their value drops a lot. Picks, they get more attacks. They still do multiple damage. It's just better, and they're cheaper. So it's 252 points for 10 min like that. So if you're bringing them, that's my advice on that. 2 units of 10, and obviously make them the Vigilance detachment. Because they have to shoot them out. And those are usually the ones you'll start, or at least one on the table, hiding them. Because if you have them as Twisted Helix, which a lot of people will, we should talk about this because we're talking about tricks. Never deploy on the line against this, because the Aberrants and Twisted Helix will get +2 to their advance as well, which means they can perfect ambush if they really need to on their first turn. If you make them go first, they'll be able to advance with a +2, and then they have a cycle power that they can charge after advancing as well. So they can usually cover the distance in no man's zone.
Surprise!
I did that a couple times.
Yeah. Like, relatively speaking, 250 points for a unit is huge when we're complaining about 30-point models. You know?
Yes.
But, like, in the grand scheme of 40K, for what those things can kill, it's not that expensive. It's a little bit expensive.
Comparatively to other things in 40K, it's not expensive. Comparatively to other things in the Genestealer cult book, it is expensive.
Yeah.
That's where it comes. Because for me, I would rather take 2 10-man Rocksaw units instead of that, which I do.
That's what I kind of think as well, because the Rocksaws hit freaking hard, but they're cheaper, and then just more things mean you have more tricks, means you have more units to throw up, more units to... Yeah, I just...
And that's that's why I prefer that instead of Aberrants, because I feel like if you go Aberrants again, you want to bring at least 20 of them, and then you are committing to that. Like, you shouldn't be bringing... No, you can't. You shouldn't be bringing Rocksaw units with that, because you're already committing to these are your hard-hitting close combat units. You can still take a Flamer Bomb in there, but
there's something to be said for, I'm picking up Genestealer cults. I'm going to start with 30 Aberrants, because I can just push them into you. I can learn the other tricks, and then I can graduate to getting rid of them for more tricks, right? Because you can only handle so many tricks when you're learning an army.
Oh, absolutely.
So there is something to be said for that. We don't want to diss... But yeah, okay.
No, like I said, I'm not dissing them at all, because Aberrants are incredible.
Well, it's okay to diss them. It's just like, if I was, because I'm thinking right now, like, if I was playing, I'd probably play 30 at first to simplify my army.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing.
It is a very complex army.
Yeah, they're a very complex army. They're like, the Aberrants are a little bit simpler in a way, but they still have a high ceiling. You still have to use them right, because like we were saying, yeah, they're more durable than most of the things in the Genestealer call target, but they still go down to heavy fire. As long as it's like light fire, like bolter fire, custode bolter, like hurricane bolters tear through them.
Oh yeah. Or shooters, not so much.
Yeah, or shooters,
not so much. Not so much.
Okay,
so fast attacks.
So they have 2 of the standard, because they have the Brood Brother stuff. So they have the Sentinels, the Armored Sentinels, the Scout Sentinels. You know that crap. We can ignore those. So the unique ones that they have the what they call that. The big thing, the Ridge Runner, the Achilles Ridge Runner. Yeah, we won't see too many of these. If you see them at all, it'll usually be in a shooty list, because they can take the long range mining laser, which is just D3 shots with a las cannon, basically.
Yeah,
they're pretty cheap at 84 points to do it. Right? Yeah, it hits on 4s, but again, there are ways to make it hit on 2s, rolling 1s. Yeah, so you can do it. Like, if you see them bring Ridge Runners, they'll either bring it to advance, get an auto advance to one of the biker squads, because they give an auto advance of 6 inches on the first turn. They'll either do it for that, usually not worth it, or they're bringing a shooty army with Hive Cult because of that, hitting on 2s, rolling 1s against something. Usually you won't see them, though. What you will see a lot of the time is the bikers, the Adel and Jackals. Now let's talk about these guys. With the quad, because these guys are awesome. The most common way you'll see them, either you'll see min squads to fill out a brigade of just 4 guys with shotguns and maybe 1 auto gun, and cultist knives, so they get extra attack in close combat. More commonly, you'll see them in 5-man units, all with the demo charges, because they're the guys that can come in just outside of 3 with the lying in wait, and they'll be rusted claws, so they can use the +1 to hit, +1 to wound with grenades. So the demo charges are already strength 8, -3, D3 damage, and now they're getting +1 to wound, which means they're even wounding on knights on 3s.
Yeah.
And they're hitting on 3s because they normally hit on 4s. You can get them to hit on 2s at the Island Jackal, like we talked about earlier. The Alphys is near them, so they could hit on 2s, but usually you won't get that. And they're 5d6 shots each, so that's, or 1d6 shots.
I was like, well, that's
holy shit, no. So 5d6 shots for 75 points. Of strength 8, -3, D3 damage.
20 shots of Melta, basically.
Yeah.
But like, because you get 5 additional grenades, Wouldn't you just take 10?
No, a lot of people do. I don't. A lot of people do, but because their grenades are only strength 3, so yeah, they'll be hitting on 3s and they're winning on 4s. Most things on 4s. If you're using them to screen clear, absolutely, you bring 10 or even 15 of them. We'll talk about that in a second too. Usually, you'll see them in squads of 5 or 75 points. It is efficient to bring them in squads that are bigger than that, because if you're already spending that much CP on them, like this is 4 CP we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
For lying in wait, the grenade strat, so all of them throw a grenade, and the rusted claw strat. That's expensive. So you want to be able to do something with them. So a lot of people will bring these instead of the flamer bomb, or they'll use the flamer bomb and give 5 guys in there a demo charge, which I did for a little while as well, because they can't use the +1 to hit, +1 to wound, but they can use the 5 guys who throw a demo charge. So if they're screening with like Venoms, let's say, Scary, then you can have the demo charges wipe out those things while the flamers kill some infantry. So it's a little more versatile that way to clear some screens, because you can still shoot them in the movement phase, but I don't think you can't use the grenade strat in the movement phase. That's the downside of that. So that's why you'll see people, I think Nick not allowed to use this too. He only has 1 demo charge just for that one little, just so it doesn't cost extra CP, and you just have that one little demo charge. I'll usually do that too when I bring them, but depends on how many points I have. Right now, I do that. But the other way that I'm starting to see the bikes now, and I think it was Reese that did it?
Frankie
did it.
He had like 45 bikes or something. 45
bikes. So the max squad you can take for every 4 bikers you take one of the quads. Now these quads, the models are awesome. I love their models. But the quads are an additional 2 wounds, and they can take heavy flamers basically, which is already great. They can take some other heavy weapons too. But the great thing about those units, to me, a 15-man bike unit is more durable than Aberrants. If you want to take something that's durable, you take this. This is their toughness 4, so they're the same toughness as Aberrants. They'll have the same save. They won't have to feel no pain, but they're -1 to hit, which is a big deal. They're faster because they move 14. And a 15-man unit with the 3 quads is 36 wounds.
Yeah, sounds good. And then that's 3 flamers plus and if you're using that much CP, you drop men, you're going to clear a screen, some venoms, you're going to clear
if you're using that CP, you're going to be throwing 5 demo charges. You'll be throwing, not everybody will take the demo charges, but you're throwing 5 demo charges, 7 grenades, and flamers as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frankie was saying that he didn't take any demos on any of them, just kept them min, and just used them to take up board space.
Yeah, that's a good way to use it too.
Board space, basically.
Yeah, and you give them all a cultist knife too. That's an extra attack for everybody in there. You give them Mike from Beyond. These guys are now pumping out like 50 attacks straight forward.
Yeah, I saw Frankie Smith. I'm like really interested.
Rock saws on their bikes.
That would be true. You can give them close combat weapons on there. Like they're not the greatest, but if you're bringing them that size, it might be worth it.
That sounds like up my alley. All these bikes.
Yeah, no, it would be up your alley. And I like this. It has only shown up since Frankie did it, and I actually really liked it. If you're bringing bikes, I think that's the way to do it now. The 5-mans, they're good, or even like the 10-mans are good instead of the flamers if you choose to go that way. I'm starting to find that they're too inconsistent though for the CP cost. Like 4 CP,
bikes or the flamers?
The bikes.
Okay, yeah, because the flamers are like consistent. They come in.
Flamers always do what I need them to do. Even if I roll badly, they will still do what I needed them to do.
Yeah, they have 1 mission and they do it. They clear a screen of infantry.
Even like I've had a couple matches where there's nothing worth flaming. Okay, now I have a 20-man Occulite squad that can get into close combat instead. Then.
Yeah.
And I always bring them still with the rest of my Occulites, so they'll be in the vigils, getting their reroll charge since it's a +1 to wound as well. So.
And if you want to charge them, you have to be more than 6 away.
Yep. You do.
So it's kind of a negative, because you could fail a 6 charge.
Yeah. Or you come in and die instead, which I'm okay with as well. So I find the flamers are just more consistent. The bomb squads, a few times that I've rolled badly with them, I spend 4 CP and 75 points to do 2 wounds to something. Doesn't happen that often, but it happens often enough that it's hard for me to keep justifying it.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. It doesn't throw enough dice to make it like immune to the effects of bad luck.
Exactly. And like originally they were my main answer to flyers, The problem with that is because they're naturally -1 to hit, they were already going to be inconsistent, like too inconsistent to be able to do that. My new list, I don't worry about that anymore. I have ways to deal with it. It also means I don't need the bikers anymore. But yeah, you will still see them because they are still really good. Again, 75 points for a 5-man. You bring the 10-man, they're even more worthwhile. I think a 15-man is the best way to do it because mainly I want to see more quads on the table because I love those models.
Yeah. Good
on Frankie for doing that. That was awesome. And I will eventually get the rest of mine painted up and be able to field that. I probably wouldn't bring it to a tournament, but I love the idea.
What's cheaper to buy, 45 bikes or like 40 acolytes with 4 rock saws each?
The bikes, I think.
Somebody actually just asking in chat, like model-wise, to kit out a unit of acolytes with 4 rock saws, you end up having to like buy bits or scrounge bits, right? Because the box itself doesn't come with 4 rock saws, obviously.
No. Well, the box itself only comes with 5 acolytes, though. But it comes with 2 rock saws, I think. No, maybe only 1. Only 1. Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And then if you want to run 20 acolytes with like 19 flamers or something, again, you're scrounging flamer bits, right?
Yep, you are. So cheaper. It's cheaper to do.
And
the bikes.
Acolytes aren't cheap either, I believe.
No, they're ridiculous.
Aren't they $70 for 10 or something like that, Canadian?
Yeah, it's like 35
or 60.
I think it's like $5 a point or something.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. Like, they're so expensive. Yeah, it's cheaper to get the bikes.
So yeah, that could be an option. Heavy sport, or because we're done with fast, I think, right?
Yep, that's all in fast attack. Heavy support, they only have 2 unique ones. Aside from, you'll see a lot of people take 9 mortars because they can.
Well, yeah, because they're good. Like mortars are good. Everybody knows that.
They're more expensive than Imperial Guard mortars, though. And now that you can't double them up anymore, if they're going to bring in mortars, they'll usually just bring in Imperial Guard mortars. Although they don't get as much CP for that now. They only get half CP from Imperial Guard detachments.
Yeah, they're still great. Like, I don't know, 9 mortars. If you were to buy 9 mortars, invest, because they're not even that expensive. They come in. Yeah. But if you were to buy 9 mortar teams, you will never regret it.
No, I have never.
Yeah, you will never regret it. They're so good.
But the other one they have is the main unique one they have is either the Cult Lehman Rust, which is it's just a basic Lehman Rust without any of the tactics or anything, and they don't have the cult keywords, so they don't get any of the bonuses. So they're kind of, I'm not gonna say garbage, but they're not worth it.
Yeah.
You will see a lot of Genestealer cult players allying in 3 tank commanders, though. That is the main thing that they will be allying in right now. I did it for a little while too until
Relic Battle Cannon. Boom.
Yeah, exactly. Like I used to do it until I got into Team ETC, so now I just training myself not to practice with them because I can't use them, obviously.
Yeah, because the guard are valued other.
Yeah. So I had to get that out of my head, but that's probably the best ally you can bring in because they do exactly what the G6 cult are missing, like long range can openers.
How do you take them? How do you take the tank commanders punishers? Right? 3 punishers?
I take two battle cannons and 1 punisher.
Okay.
One make one, give one the relic battle cannon.
Yeah, because of course they wouldn't need the amount of anti-infantry because the GSC does that already.
Yeah, but it's still good to have the punishers because the amount of shots is awesome. But you want at least 2 battle cannons because they need long-range cannon openers. They need something that can shoot the back line to open up other little areas like pockets for you to deep strike into. Like the battle cannons are perfect for that 72-inch range. So you're not firing that at the strong stuff usually. You're firing at little infantry squads just to open up space usually.
Yeah, usually at the back.
Yeah.
Because range is so key in this game right now, right?
It is.
So many people are just in corners.
Yeah.
With units and
Yeah. But they do have 2 really cool units that you won't see very often, but I think they're really cool. They have the Rock Grinders in heavy support. Now the Rock Grinders, they're transports. They can transport 6 infantry models, whatever. They can take the big weapons, so you can give them shooting weapons. Most of the time, people will give them the heavy incinerator, which is just a D6 strength 6, -1 flamer. It's 2d6, I think. It's a good flamer. It's expensive, but it's a good flamer because they'll be running them up the board because these things are surprisingly good in combat because they have their giant grinders.
Like the rock grinder or whatever.
The rock grinders, like they have 6 attacks base plus D3 when they charge, and they're strength 9. -2 D3 damage apiece. Like they're good.
So
what's their movement?
They're like
is it 12?
Baneblade chassis. Did they hit on 2s though?
No, they only hit on 4s. 3s if there's a Primus near them because they do have the cult keyboard.
That's pretty good to hit on 4s.
Do they move 12?
They move 10.
Okay, that's still fast. Pretty fast.
Hitting
Still
on
pretty
4s
fast.
as a vehicle is pretty good. I mean, you need to use a strat for guard to hit on 2s.
They do have a strat to act at full as well in Genestealer Cult. So,
okay.
so even if they're wounded, they only have 10 wounds. And they only have 4 up save. They do have rugged construction though, so they have feel no pain.
Yeah, but it's like Genestealer Cult in general. It's like, here's a whole bunch of shit. What are you going to kill?
Yeah,
you're going to kill something.
Yeah. So
yeah, I haven't seen. Actually, I haven't played against those or seen those.
I actually brought them to the tournament to Black Knight Games this weekend. They surprised me. They did pretty good. I was impressed with them.
Did they still have the thing where the guy like could throw a bomb, but it can like deviate back onto himself? Or was that in 7th?
I don't think that exists anymore.
That's not a thing anymore.
I wish it did.
I think it was in 7th, right? You had a pie plate, but it
that was demo charges. That was demo charges before, like back when we had templates. They all could do that. Even in 3rd edition, demo charges could deviate back on you.
Yeah, that's only been recently a thing. Yeah, a lot of people watching this might not even know what you're talking about with pie plates and stuff. It's actually at that point in the hobby that some people
because this edition has grown so much,
it's grown the community huge. But I love this edition. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna say I don't miss pie plates, but they were fun.
I don't miss them.
I don't miss pie plates.
It was so hard arguing with people. There was people you play against. You'd be like, "There's no way you're hitting 30 dudes with that one." Yeah. Like, are you on crack right now? Nah, it's 40 to 400.
400 on this.
Let me just flip it here in midair, and somehow it's
somehow it's over here now.
8, 12, 14, 16. I'm like, I don't even think that's possible, dude. My guys are all 2 inches apart. Like, this is crazy. It's only 1.5 inches. You can't hit 2. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about, too. And I remember those days.
I don't miss them.
They were a fun mechanic, but for competitive play, they're a nightmare. They were fun.
So it was cool because that's the way that it was back in the day for a long, long time.
The only cool pie plate was the massive one when the knight exploded.
No, the best one was we went to Adepticon one year with the big flamer template off the links, and we ordered a pizza, and it was bigger than our pizza. And we're big dudes. That was a big pizza. Like it was. Anyway, okay. What's the last heavy sport choice?
Well, the last one's not heavy sport. It's their dedicated transport. They're Goliath, so it's the same chassis as the Rock Grinder, but they're they're basically a Taurus. 72 points. They have twin autocannons on there and a heavy stubber. The difference with them, to me, is because they're open topped. You can have your infantry in there, and they can still shoot out of them. So if you're going for like a shooting army, they're pretty good for that. And they move 10. They toughness 6, 4 up save, and feel no pain. You can give them the hit on 2s, rerolling 1s if you bring all the right stuff for high class. So they can be used. I don't see them that often. I actually kind of like them, but they have a specific use in Genestealer Cult. And usually, they're just better things to take.
Usually, you see a lot of infantry and allies.
Yes, you will. Like most Genestealer Cult players will ally in tank commanders. Like 90% of them, if they ally at all, if you're not going pure Genestealer Cult, you'll see tank commanders. And sometimes even like a battalion or a spearhead with the mortar stuff, the mortars and the wyvern and basilisk.
Is there any combos we missed or any units or that you want to touch on before you move on to how to plan against them?
Combo wise,
aside you did like the flamers come up within 3.
Yeah, I think that covers most of the combos that I could think of. There are a couple other ones. Just the Hive Cult shooting, the Pauper Princes you don't see anymore. They're the ones that have a 2-up lookout, sir. So we can basically make a guy immune to dying if he has 40 guys around him. But you won't see that often. Those are the ones you'll normally see. There'll be a couple other things that'll pop up, but yeah, these are the ones you'll see in the competitive scene the most, I think.
So the first thing, I guess, when you're playing against them is, as you said, if the guy's on the line with Aberrant, you don't deploy in the line?
Well, don't deploy on the line if he has Aberrants.
So you always deploy. How far away should you deploy?
Usually,
how many inches off the line? Is it 2?
Ideally, it's 3 inches.
3 inches. So you always want to be if you're going to a Genestealer Cult player and you do not want to get. Some armies may want to get charged. I don't know, whatever. But if you don't want to get charged turn 1, you have to be 3 inches back.
Yeah, generally 3 inches back is the safest because if they choose the perfect ambush, they can make ridiculously long charges.
And then let's talk about screening out GSC, because they are a heavy, deep striking army. So how do you screen them properly?
The best way to screen them is, well, one, you want to know what you're most scared of. Are you most scared of the flamers, or are you most scared of like the rock saws, aberrants? Ideally, you want to have the 7-inch bubble between them if you don't want flamers to get in between you. But if you're afraid of bigger units like rock saws or aberrants coming in, you need a 4-inch bubble between your different screens. If you have like one screen here and then 4 inches behind that, so then the flamers, even if they perfect ambush, it's not worth bringing another unit in behind them to charge another screen. Now, there's a lot of armies that can't do that, because I know knights are very prevalent. Custodians don't always have that many bodies as well. So
we got our own tricks against
you do have your own tricks, yes, you do. But there are a couple of things you can do. Then you have to start thinking about what you're willing to have in the front line and take that hit. So if you have,
you almost need 2 layers. Like, so
you have to have 2 layers.
If you're going to push up turn 1, let's say you go second, G-Circle player, you deploy 3 inches back, so he doesn't do his bomb rush at you turn 1. You then basically have to advance up. You want 2 layers of crap, like
if you
disposable crap, and you want them, my opinion, at 7 inch, not even 7. You want them like 6.5 inches apart. Layer 1, layer 2. Yep. Then you want your army behind the second layer, and that's the only way that you're going to be secure.
Yes, that's for one turn. Well, something to keep in mind too is,
but if he's committed, once he commits,
yes,
that flamer drops in, kills your front line, and then your second line's still alive. He's going to kill it, but then it's like, I don't care. I'm going to kill that unit.
Yeah, Genestealer Cult will usually run out of gas at the end of turn 3. Usually, now remember, they can have a couple things for now. They can have a couple things still in reserve afterwards. So they'll usually keep at least one like OBSEC unit, objective grabber, and they'll keep at least one of their close combat units up there just as a looming threat.
Yeah.
But usually they'll run out of gas by that turn.
Yeah,
and if you can screen them out, they run out of steam.
Yeah.
If you can screen them out properly, or at least put something forward that you either don't care about dying as much, or you think might even be able to survive the charge. But spoiler alert, not many things can survive a charge from Genestealer Cult. There are,
so hit hard. To use the orc example, what I would do is I would put 2 units of grots on the line. Well, 2 inches back from the line, 3 inches back from the line. I'd move in advance 2 units of 10 spread out like apart.
Yep.
And then I'd put 2 more units of 10 right behind them, because I always have 50 grots.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, you drop in your flamers, but if you're going to do that, you also have to shoot their cultists, because otherwise they're going to shoot you. So you have to be like, even though it's las guns, you have to get rid of their las guns. So sometimes I will shoot their cultists if I can see them right away. I can't clear my screen, because I don't care. I want to, as Dustin said, by the end of turn 3, he has to bring his units in. He brings the flamer bomb in. He's going to kill my grots. It's like, whatever. If I use a unit of boys to screen, they're just dead, and that's 215 points gone. So you want to do, like, you always want to have your cheap stuff. So if you're playing, Rusty, was it the Rusty 17? You want to throw those guys forward. That's what I did, actually, against Jeff, as I threw my Rusty 17 right up as fast as possible and just chilled the custodians behind him.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's not a matter of how many bodies. It's a matter of also knowing what you can throw up there. If you have armigers, throw them as the screen. They're not going to bring you much value against Genestealer Cult. Most Genestealer Cult are not going to have things that are worth firing armigers. They use them as screens, because then they have to commit like a rock saw unit or something to kill that to even get through to the juicy stuff behind.
But then once you've exposed yourself as a GSC player, the opponent's just like, they're all gone.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we fold like wet Kleenex.
Yeah,
like we do not.
If they run out of CP, or if they're all down and you get a chance to retaliate, then it goes. They die fast. Like
they die very fast. That's
go second, play patient.
Yeah, go second, play patient. Yeah. That's the best thing to do. If you make them go first, it's a lot harder for a standard Genestealer Cult list to do any damage or even get a good position on turn 1. It's really hard. That's why I changed my list.
It's hard to play aggressive against GSC. You just gotta castle up and
it's not yourself. Just don't play aggressive.
Yeah, you can't.
They win that fight.
Yeah.
They win that fight for sure.
Now the Space Marines have those dudes that make it a 12-inch no deep strike bubble. But the key about those guys is to not put them so far forward that they just get wrapped first turn. Because then you're
or they get charged by the enemy army.
Yeah, then you're totally screwed, right?
Yeah, you gotta. There's a couple things you gotta watch out for.
Just remember too, they're not going to make you immune to charges because they can still perfect ambush to get within 12, and then they still get bonuses to charge. You're not immune to it. Yeah, you're reducing the chance, but you're not immune to it.
Yeah.
But if he slows you down for 2 turns, 3 turns, it's all that matters.
Yeah, slowing them down is a big deal, but there's a difference between slowing them down and stopping them, and that's what this kind of goes into which assassin to take. Now, a lot of people will take. Well, if they started taking the Vindicator, we were talking about that. That's not worth it. Just don't take a Vindicator against Genestealer cult. It's not worth it. As much as it seems like it is, because of all the awesome characters they have, don't.
Yeah, they have too many wounds.
They have way too survivable. Now, the Calidus is the most popular one that people choose against me. I have a lot of experience fighting against a Calidus assassin against my Genestealer cult. What I've found is, yes, when it goes off, like, you'll make me end up spending a lot of CP, which honestly on turn 1 I don't, turn 2 I do. So you have to pay the CP to make it last another turn. It doesn't stop me. It makes me run out of gas a little bit quicker or be more careful with what I'm doing, but it doesn't actually stop me. And people always take not always, but most of the time they take the Calidus because they think, all right, I'll get him to use all the CP on the first 2 turns and he'll be done. I do that anyway. I don't find that actually stops me.
No, but it's better than a Vindicator. Maybe
it's better than a Vindicator.
Is okay.
I think the Eversor is actually the best way to do it.
If you don't have as a counter charge.
As a counter charge, he will rip through the army.
Yeah. He just goes in, bang, hits a unit, done. Right.
Yeah. He rips through it.
And he forces you
can kind of do it, but if they have flamers, it's not as worth it because they can auto hit them, but they can kind of tie things up a little more. I think the Eversor is the best way to go personally. And anybody that I've kind of told that and then played a game against them, even if they lose, they still look at the Eversor like, yeah, that was the right choice. Like he did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Well, it's a horde army, and that's what that.
It's a horde army. Like he tears through them. It's a perfect countercharge unit. He will kill almost anything that he fights of Genestealer cult, and he's perfect for countercharge. If you don't have anything else to fight in close combat, that's not. Like, you don't want to go in with a knight a lot of the time.
If you had, instead of 18 CP to start, 13 CP to start, then a Calidus maybe becomes more worthwhile.
Oh, if they don't have triple battalion, take a Calidus. They're done.
Yeah, but like starting at 18, like getting a 4 up to spend 1 extra here and there is not a huge deal.
Like, honestly, to completely throw it out there, if somebody takes a Calidus against me, I just go, okay, well, I'm not re-rolling any of my damage rolls. That's basically what it means for me.
Yeah, you just get rid of that one strat. Whatever, I'll take it.
I just won't do that.
Yeah. Cool.
So, specifically from my point of view, when I've played Genestealer cults with Custodes, the Graph tanks are nice to screen with because they're -2 to charge, and then you throw a Tanglefoot in there for D6 minus charge, so you can make them fail charges.
And that's the thing. If you can find a way to get them to fail the charge, that hurts them a lot.
And then they're screwed.
Genestealer cults the standard Genestealer cult are extremely melee heavy, and this is the other thing too. They will try to wrap you. So there are certain times that you want to have your screen not spread out. Like, don't spread out more than like an Acolyte base can fit there.
Yeah.
Or more than an Aberrant base can fit there.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to give them an easy wrap. You want to keep them a little bit closer if you can. I know there's a lot of nuances with this, like, you should do this and this. Like, well, my array doesn't have that. There's always something you can do. And a lot of the time, it's just like, all right, what am I willing to sacrifice? What's not going to give me a value in this matchup? Like, if you're bringing armatures, they're not going to bring me value. If you have Luminous, the battle tanks, like the battle cannons, they'll usually not bring you value, so throw them up there. If you get wrapped with those ones, like, one of the things I should say, and this is just with the meta as well, it's not just against Genestealer. This is in general. This meta right now is very assault heavy. If you want to go competitive, you need to have some counter assault units. Doesn't even have to be, it's not even an aggressive assault unit. You need to have a counter assault unit because you are going to get charged by 90% of the armies out there. They're going to try to wrap you. If they succeed and you don't have anything to deal with that, you're in trouble.
No, I agree. When they wrap, you're like, whatever, go in.
Yeah.
Or have your flying screen.
Oh God. Yeah.
Or have a flying screen, or have like a psychic power like to jump or something like that to pull you out, or some kind of redeploy shenanigans.
Incidentally, flyers are a good way to deal with Genestealer call.
So I wanted to, the last kind of thing is what do you not want to play against, and what do you want? Like, what's your number one army that you want to play against in a tournament because you'll crush them? Nice. Like, I know that this is like player blah blah. Yeah. Knights.
Nice got no
it's
chance.
The easy matchup, and then what's the one that you're like, oh my god?
Tau.
Flyer spam.
Flyer spam. The Eldar 6/9 flyers.
Because without mental onslaught now, like you don't have a reliable way of.
Yeah, we don't have a reliable way of doing it. I think the Bison are our most reliable way now, and they're not reliable against flyers, especially not -2 to hit flyers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like they're the flyer list, like in ITC, we can get sudden death because you can usually kill what's on the ground. But if the player is screening well enough with their flyers, like don't get aggressive with your flyers against Genestealer call.
Take the middle of the board and say you're staying on your half, and that's it.
Yeah. As long as you stop them from sudden deathing you'll beat them. And
you'll just pick away at their units over the whole game, and you'll score half the board. And Genestealer call definitely do collapse eventually.
Yeah. I used to be worried about Tau, but I've played them so much now. I'm actually not as concerned about them. Like
they're so table dependent, man.
They are table dependent. I deal with the battlesuit list very well now. Mech Tau, I'm not as confident against. Like Devin's new list, I need practice against that. Like when I look at it and think about the matchup, I'm not confident in it. So I have to play that a little bit more. But I wasn't confident in the battlesuit matchup too until I played it a bunch, and then I realized what I can do to actually mitigate them and deal with it now. So now I'm fine against that. So a lot of Genestealer call, and because it's such a strategically heavy list, you have to play the matchups. You can only do so much theory crafting with Genestealer call without putting on the table. It's like, all right, this is the situation. I got to think about what I got to do now.
Yeah, all armies are like that, though.
Yeah, for sure.
We got a question for you, Dustin, from Strasius. What's your opinion on taking an air wing of guard? So by that probably means 3 vultures.
Oh, that's actually another way to run them. I do like that because it gives them some flyers, so it gives them some mobility. The only thing I don't like about the vultures, though, is because if you're fighting flyers, they're not doing as well against them because they don't get the +1 to hit against them. Yeah, that's why I prefer the tank commanders, because they can help you deal with the flyers, which is the matchup that we have trouble with, as we were just talking about. So the vultures are really good, and I do like them, but I feel like the tank commanders are just better for that. Maybe take if you want to take a battalion of them, take like 2, leave the rest of the battle cannons, and then like 1 vulture with some troops. That's a good way to do it. I wouldn't dedicate fully to them though.
Let's face it, Leeming Russ are way cheaper financially.
Yeah.
Way more versatile. Like they have way more options and different guard lists and things like that, and different formats as well. The vultures being Forge World limits them in where we play.
So expensive.
Yeah. Well, just even like we can't use them in ETC format, so that does skew us a little bit in our conversations. But
yeah.
It's the age-old debate, right? Like if I have 2 options in front of me as an ETC ITC player kind of mix, if I have 2 options in front of me, I always choose the non-Forge World if they're similar, right?
Yeah, I do prefer ETC, so I always think that way too. I try not to get used. That's why I don't use when I play Tyranids. I try not to use my Malanthrope, those kind of things. I just try not to get used to it.
Which is sad. It's something that I want to do in the future, because ETC also doesn't allow index stuff that hasn't been replaced. There's a lot of little things. So if you have that, like, I'm going to go to an orc example because it's the only ones that I really have right now, is like 30 boys. If you play ITC, you can take a Shuda on your knob, but you can't do that in ETC, right? Yeah. So if you play both like I do, you almost have to have 2 knobs, one with a Shuda, one with a pistol, a slugga, and then you're basically... So like we almost have to get used to doing that, but it's tough. It's tough.
True. It's a lot. The same thing with like Dark Eldar, other Archons. Like taking a blaster on an Archon is just gold, but you can't do that in ETC because it's index.
Okay. Yeah, so you need like 2 Archons.
Follow-up question from Strasius. What about NID allies? What do you take?
Yeah, we were working on getting back to that. Do you want to talk about that or no?
Sure, of course we can talk about it. Like there are
Swarmy, 20 Genestealers, Rippers.
NIDs are
Hiveguard.
They're my first love.
Not Hiveguard.
Hiveguard can do well with them.
Yeah, 6
so
in the back.
But again,
They're so expensive, but they don't kill as much as you think.
I know, and I've talked about this on the Stoner Scrub a lot too, because Hive Guard are great on paper. When I bring them, they never do what I need them to do, and you fire them like mortars and stuff out of line of sight because they ignore cover. Like they kill chaff like nobody's business, but they don't have enough shots to do it.
Yeah,
but that's what you want them for. That's why I would just usually take mortars instead. But on the subject of Tyranids, because I love Tyranids. Obviously, it was my first thing that I ever played. I'm a Zerg player. My real list has Tyranids in it. So I've been doing a lot of testing on what I bring with them. There are a lot of different options that you can. If you need or you want more screen clearing, you bring some Flying Hive Tyrants with all the DACAs, so 24 string 6 shots. You could do that. Taking some Rippers, so you just have some more deep striking objective grabbers. That's always nice too. But the most common one you'll see in a lot of Genestealer cult players, or I guess you should call them Forces of the Hive Mind players now, they'll bring Genestealers with a Swarm Lord and an Neurothrope, generally just because it's the cheaper option. Sometimes they'll bring a Hive Tyrant as well, but a lot of them will bring Genestealers. Genestealers give Genestealer cult that turn 1 punch that they need. My problem with Genestealers is if you don't go first, they die because you can't hide them as well. Because they're the thing you actually have to put on the board, and they're very open to getting shot, and they are a high priority target. And the other thing
and if your opponent wears khakis, you have nothing to steal, right?
Wow.
I was waiting
so
for
bad.
that one.
Oh, that's so bad. I know this has been going on a while, Chris, but there's no reason for that.
I did actually go to a tournament a long time ago. That was like I can't remember what they called it. It was like a straight WYSIWYG tournament, like legit. What you see is what you get. And one of the guys' Genestealers actually had Genestealers carrying jeans above their head running. I thought that was pretty fun.
That's too much.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
But what was I talking about?
Sorry, I had to throw. Right. Sorry, I was just like I needed to throw that dad joke in there.
Of course, there's the dad joke. We were all waiting for it. We knew at least what was coming.
So you're talking about Genestealers. If you go second, they basically get shot off the table.
If you go second, they get shot and die. But it's not only that, because obviously you want to go second. That's Genestealer cult. So one, you're putting something on the board it's only going to be a deterrent for your opponent to not go first. Not go first? You know what I'm talking about.
Yes. So you're basically saying like, oh, if you want to go first, go ahead. I want to go second, but if you're going second, I'm going to hit you with this Genestealer unit. Yeah.
Now, the other problem with that, though, is you're playing against a Genestealer cult unit. You see Genestealers, you're already going to be in the mindset of screening properly. So now they just put a big unit in the front on turn 1 that the Genestealers either aren't worth throwing at or have a hard time going through. Like if you're a knight player and you throw all 3 of your knights in the front line on turn 1, Genestealers are not going to go into that. There's no point. Sure, you might kill one with fighting twice, but I don't find it worth it.
I like the Flyers actually. That sounds nice.
Flyers is what I would usually recommend.
They'd help you versus Flyers and stuff a little bit.
If you want to bring them for anti-flyer, I'd recommend them as Behemoth, to be honest, because you bring them with one of the double DACA and then Monster Bending Claws, and then you can come in with a +1 to charge.
Yeah, he's charged.
No, +1 to charge and rolling because Behemoth gets to re-roll. So it's better to charge them. The problem with the Hive Tyrants for that is they're actually not even as good as a Brood Lord in close combat, technically.
They're expensive point-wise.
But they're psychic.
They went up high.
Like honestly, if anything, I would generally recommend Tyrants. Genestealers they're good. They're ridiculously good. And if you use them well, they will win you games. But to me, I don't think that's the way to go. Because then you're just committing to more of the same.
It's like the same stuff, but you could do it better with Acolytes.
I feel like you need to differentiate if you're going to start bringing in Tyranids. I actually bring something completely different with my Tyranids now. I could talk about it if you want, but I've been testing a lot of stuff and I've gone back to my tried and true love. But
this is secret. We're getting secret territory here.
A little bit.
Yeah, let's not talk about this. We'll leave it up to the imagination. You guys will get this later.
You'll get it later.
We'll get it later. Just
for now. Hive Tyrants, I think, are the safest option because they are an answer to the Flyer because they give you some extra psychic powers to do some mortal wounds. If you give them the Rending Claws, if you need to take them against Flyers, take the Rending Claws and either Kraken or Behemoth so you can kind of hit and run with Kraken, or Deep Strike and Charge if you're worried about getting shot off the table if you start on the table. That's the best way to do it. I think the Tyrants they're all around good. Swarmlord is still really good with Genestealer. Swarmlord it's still expensive. 50 points cheaper than it used to be. It's great, but he's still, because he can get targeted, you're giving this is actually something I should talk about too, because the way you want to build Genestealer generally, because you're doing mass infantry, right? The moment you put something big like the Swarmlord on the table, you now give like things like Castle and something to shoot at.
Yeah, las cannons, you name it.
Yeah, bang. Every big gun now has a target. That's why I generally recommend Tyrants as the Behemoth, so you can start them off the table. So you're still not giving them any good targets for big weapons. So now all their big weapons kill an infantry or two. Fine. That's what you want them to do. There are a couple options, like we talked about Hive Guard a bit. But yes, I prefer allying in Tyranids for the psychic powers and the versatility that they have. The most common ones are definitely the triple tank commander, though.
Ooh.
All right. Well, okay.
So, is there any more questions, Darren? Or?
Not right now, no.
I got a couple of things we can talk about if you want to keep going. So,
sure. What do you want to talk about?
Well, just in terms of tricks to beat them.
Okay, we can keep going. Yeah, let's keep doing it.
Because you wanted me to tell people how to beat me, right? So
yeah, sure. I'm all in. I'm all in.
Get you drunk.
I don't want to sit in this shit. One thing that a lot of people are afraid of with Genestealer Cult is because they do have a Vect.
Yes, they do.
Now, something to remember, though, is that the Vect for Genestealer Cult is only once a game. And if you have either something that can intercept the deep striking unit, something that can Vect, if you have your own Vect, and there's a couple of other ones, like maybe sometimes interrupts, but if you have any of those kind of strats, 9 times out of 10, the Genestealer Cult player is going to save it for that. Because that's what they need. So you can't be afraid of their Vect. Like their Vect, they save it for something very specific. And if you have any of those tricks, you don't need to worry about them Vecting you. Because if they do, then they're in trouble later on.
Yeah, I think like that's how you play Vect in general, right? Sorry, Darren, go ahead.
Would you Vect a Tanglefoot on a 7-inch charge, say?
Depending on how good my perfect ambush was, I might.
Well, let's say you need a 7-inch charge. Would you
7-inch charge with my Acolytes? Depends on the game. Depends on how many
it depends on the terrain. Are you in a ruin? Like, does it matter if you fail it?
Depends on a lot. That is something I might Vect. It's not a guaranteed Vect, but it's something I might.
Yeah.
Like, I've even Vected like a reroll sometimes if it's that important.
I think Vect is almost like or that style of strat. Almost just play normally. The guy's going to stop 3 of them or one of them in the Genestealer Cult case. Yeah, you just got to power through it.
That's the thing. You can't play afraid of it. There's so many people that are like, oh, I can't do it because you might Vect. It's like, no, man, like just do it
and make him Vect you, and then once it's gone, it's gone. Yeah.
Even if it's Dark Elder, that's 4 CP. Like, yeah, it's worth Vecting, but that's still good. You get those out of the way so you can do stuff later on. You can't be afraid of it. You can't.
You can't be.
I get it's powerful and it does ruin your plans all the time, but you cannot be afraid of it.
The only time I'm afraid of it is when the guy has regained 3 CP. And you're sitting there and you're like, do I use CP and chance you getting another Vect? Yeah, like that's when you're like, maybe I'll just do the one thing that really matters and I won't do the rest because I don't want to give you back a chance at one more CP. But
yeah,
you just go all ham in. And yeah, maybe if there's something that'll really ruin your day, you just don't do that. But like, don't do something risky with a unit that's like, I need this unit to go here and this and not get intercepted or something, right? Like.
All right, we got another question. What are good ITC secondaries to take against you?
Against me, generally speaking, Reaper, Butcher's Bill. Those are the 2 easy ones, and Headhunter. Headhunter's an iffy one.
Is Headhunter easy? I don't know.
It's not easy in the sense that, yeah, our characters are hard to kill, but we have a lot of them, and a lot of them will be aggressive. Because the Primus and the Acolyte have to go at you. So that's going to be 2, not free points, but you're going to be able to kill those guys pretty easily as long as you get through them. Like, again, Headhunter's a little bit more situational depending on the map situation. If you're playing on, like, ITC Mission 5, the Heroes one, when you get bonus points for the characters, I think it's Mission 5, right? Mission 5 or 6.
One of them, the one with the
one
intel.
Of them. One
intel.
Yeah, well, one
Not
with that. When the characters are getting bonus for being out on the objectives, 100% take Headhunter because they're going to be out there.
How about Kingslayer on the Patriarch?
No, that's a trap.
Because he's so hard to kill.
He's one you can hide a lot easier, and if it's only one character, he's one of the guys that I'll put up underground so he doesn't come on the board. And you get rid of the guy from the turn, but you also don't get 4 points, and that's huge. And I'll gladly sacrifice the Patriarch to take away 4 points from you.
And 1 point can mean the difference between that 1,000-point bonus points or nothing, right? Yeah.
100%.
So for sure, Butcher's Bill and Reaper are the easy ones.
Butcher's Bill is pretty easy usually, and Reaper, you'll usually have more than enough bodies to be able to do that. The third one is more dependent on everything else. Like Headhunter's the safest. If I had to say one to always take against them, Headhunter's the closest. But usually, Engineers isn't worth it because we will get into your back line. King of the Hill is not worth it because you won't survive the middle too long.
You don't want to go in the middle.
You don't want to go in the middle.
Don't go in the
middle. Recon is always a good one.
Yeah, because it's easy for you. You don't need to worry about your opponent to score.
That's the thing. I like secondaries where you don't have to worry about what your opponent's doing. As G-Star called, I'll take Recon every time.
Yeah.
Deep striking everything. Yeah, Orcs obviously will always take it too. Like it's Recon is the best one just because you don't have to worry about your opponent's doing. You can plan how your army gets Recon before the game even starts.
Yeah.
So I like that one, but that's again arm dependent.
You can even take the one where you have to hold objectives at the end of the game, depending on
Ground
how safe.
That's
you
another
can
one.
you can probably get yourself 3 points or 2 points in most games.
Usually, again, it depends on your army because Genestealer cult, they fold like wet paper, but they hit hard enough that there's a chance that they could have more than you. Now, I should.
Yeah, you're right. That was
Genestealer cult suffer. Like standard Genestealer cult lists suffer against MSU. So if you're an MSU army, ground control is usually 100% worth it. But most armies
are not MSU these days.
Yeah,
they're not MSU these days.
You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of Vect too, if you want to know what to Vect of Genestealer cult, there's 3-ish things you should Vect. Number one, Vect they're bringing stuff from the table and underground. At least until we don't have to bring it in before turn 3.
Yeah.
Because having things in Deep Strike past turn 3 is devastating.
Yeah, because it controls the way, it basically forces you to play cagey for the whole game.
The second thing is you affect either the lying in wait or the perfect ambush if the flamer's coming in to clear a screen. If there's a screen worth killing. If you're screening with Venoms, don't bother. Venom or 2 might die, but if you bring in that many Venoms, you're probably MSU enough that you don't need to worry about it.
So if you use Perfect Ambush and it gets Vected, you still have to bring them in but 9 inches away now?
No, lying in wait. That's the tricky thing too. I say Vect the Perfect Ambush, not the perfect the lying in wait, because they're committed to coming in at that point. It's like, all right, I'm bringing these guys in, I'm going to lying in wait. If you Vect that, then they can't come in to do their flamer bomb at all.
Yes,
that's what you do. The only downside of doing it that way is that they can still come up within 9 and then perfect ambush and still charge. And a 20-man Acolyte squad charging is just as scary, if not scarier. So that's why it's a toss-up between whether you do it against the lying in wait itself or the perfect ambush. Because the perfect ambush will prevent anything else from coming in past your screen, and it'll also make sure that those Acolytes don't charge.
You could almost let your screen die to the flamers and then stop. Yeah. I like that more. Yeah.
And then those Acolytes are kind of just standing out in the wind.
Exactly.
All right, cool.
Yeah, they killed something, but they're there.
But they're there. Flamers. Usually they'll kill something it was going to die no matter what. Yeah. So now you can just kill them because now they're not doing anything. Yeah. That's the only reason I wouldn't do it against the lying in wait, because if they can still charge and wrap something, now it's even scarier.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Anything else, or?
I think that was most of the things. Just remember that they hit hard, but they fold like wet Kleenex. Like they die very easily.
Yeah, there's still a lot of them though.
There are a lot of them. Yes,
that's the thing, right? There's a lot of them.
And the biggest thing with Genestealer cult is you will always have trouble beating what you don't understand. So watch this video.
Learn a lot. Yeah.
Watch watch this video over and over again, play them, practice them, ask questions of your opponents. Like I always offer to, I know it doesn't help because you don't know what to ask, but I always say, like, ask me any questions you have. And if anything seems like it's bullshit, it probably is. Ask me, I'll show you the rule for it, because Genestealer are bullshit. So
yeah. Like, stop your opponent and be like,
yeah,
I know that you have 2 types of ambush with that unit. What are the 2 types? Okay, I'm going to stop that one.
Yeah.
You could do stuff like that.
Constantly ask what they have in deep strike. Like, ask them. Like, I'll always set up like guys that are deep strike on the top of my my board there, so you can see what still has to come in, because that's something that'll always catch you off guard. Like, you need to always know everything that they have off the board that can still come in.
Yeah,
because that'll catch you off guard if you don't.
Like, proxy the army. Like, that's how I feel like even though because we were getting ready to play them for not like really early stages. It was like a concept. We wanted to play them for a 4-man team at Adepticon. It's been on the table for the last couple of years anyway. And just going through the exercise of like, I want to play this army. This is the list. These are what this, like, it gives you enough knowledge into what they can kind of do that then it's less like a shock when you get to the table. So if you could borrow an army from a friend, proxy an army, play a quick game, even if you get half the rules wrong or you make mistakes, at least running through the flow of the list lets you play against it better.
Yeah, you need to be able to see it on the table and play against it to really understand and see, because it's the same thing as Genestealers when with Swarmlord, like when they first came out. Even when if you play them now, 40 inches doesn't seem like that big until you see it on the table. Like when you see Genestealers cross the entire map and charge you first turn, you don't realize how far it actually is until you see it.
Yeah,
same thing with Genestealer.
With that, you're basically like, nope, I got to put a unit that you're going to kill. That's it.
Yeah.
Like this edition is the edition of screening.
Yes, it is.
Screening and board control is like 90% of the game, it feels like sometimes, and shooting. But
that's why even all the night lists generally take the Loyal 32 for the bodies, because you need those bodies.
Well, and they can like basically move like ridiculous, move like pretty far, right? So
yeah, they can. They're really versatile for that. Like they're great.
I can push out. Now your Genestealers are coming in the middle of the board. I don't care. Drop your flamers behind my screen line and flame my knights. Who cares?
Yeah. That's the thing. You want to spread as much as possible, especially if the Genestealer call player makes you go first. Take advantage of it and spread out as much as you can, because that means you have 2 turns to cover the board and really limit where they come.
Yeah.
You have to control where they deep strike, and you can do it. The only thing that they have to really mitigate that is their flamer bomb. And that's the time, if you have enough units, you keep that 7-inch bubble in between your screens, they won't do much.
That's the one thing to keep in mind is don't do the 18 inches, do the 7.
Yeah, don't do the 18 inches. You have to do the 7.
Because then you're just giving them a lot of open space. Yeah, where he's flaming 2 units and
Because remember, they can deep strike like Kelemorphs and stuff too. And that's only 1 model, and they'll clear screens too.
Yeah, like it depends. Sometimes with like the orcs, you just to jump a unit like right up into the enemy's grill, and then you put like a unit on the line, you move them up, and then you can generally like cover most of the board, but it's still tough to do.
Yeah,
because even the stuff that you have on the board can go in and hurt.
Yeah,
yeah. So
that the thing is to usually, unless they have the aberrants on the table, usually what's on the table for Genestealer call in turn 1 won't be that threatening. Usually.
Well, even 1 aberrant unit.
1 aberrant unit is scary, but a lot of the time if they have more than 1, they will have 1 on the table. That's the smart thing to do. But there are a lot of Genestealer called armies that will have all their threatening stuff underground. If they do that, you have to take advantage of it, because remember, stuff on there will not be that scary. The Patriarch will be scary, but that's their warlord. They're probably not going to throw it away. So that's the thing you need to keep in mind too. If they keep all their threats underground, spread out so their threats don't do anything that game.
Yeah. It'd be tough. I was wondering. I was like, I always wonder if the orcs, if I could just cover the whole board enough just to like stop you from doing anything.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
So I'd have to try that out. Mm-hmm. Cool. So with that, I guess I think that's enough for Genestealer. Oh, you got 2 more questions?
I got 2. No, not about Genestealer. So if we're wrapped up, I have two more things.
I think we can wrap up the topic, and then we'll move open to open Q&A.
All right, I've got 2 things. Just a quick announcement about Capital City Bloodbath. Sign-ups are going really well. We're up to 90 people for 40K, and 38 for Sigmar, which does cap at 50. So don't wait too long if you were thinking of coming. There's rumors in the mill that we will actually be running a Magic event as well. So stay tuned for that. That might pop up on the website at some point. And then there's no limit to the number for doubles because it's basically you'd have to, So there's no cap for doubles. So don't worry about doubles. There's lots of space. But 40K definitely filling up fast, and AOS is almost capped. So be sure to sign up soon. CapitalCityBloodbath.com. The other announcement I wanted to make was just on behalf of Jim Vessel, one of our CanHammer team players. As many of you know, he had his whole Chaos Army stolen at Toronto Airport, that dodgy place called Toronto.
And was that in security or out of security? I
don't know, but he just kind of left it there for a second to go do something, which probably shouldn't have done, and then it was gone. So... And it's unlikely he gets it back, to be honest. And so there was a lot of outpouring online of sympathies, and so he just wanted us to announce on his behalf that he was very thankful for all the outpouring online for that. So that's all he wanted us to say about that. And he's already started a new 2,000-point army for ATC in 2.5 weeks.
Wow. Freaking trooper.
So there you go.
Cool. So with that, I guess we'll wrap it up. Thanks for coming on, Dustin. Why don't you plug your show one last time before we go?
Thanks a lot for having me on. It is the Stud or Scrub podcast. We release a new episode every Friday, so please check us out. It's entertaining. It's entertaining. Check it out. We even have some guests on there sometimes, like some guy, Chris, Darren. I've heard of them somewhere. Losers, but yeah.
Scrubs.
It's the Scrubs. That's why we have to get Scrubs on there. Otherwise, we can't name it that, right?
Yeah. You can listen to a snotling. So, thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and we got more like this coming. So, see you guys later.
Good night.